So as I said, thank you and welcome everyone. And today we'll talk about another topic, a new topic, and that's what we keep doing every week, right? And thank you for spending at least 3 weeks. This is the third week that you have joined. Um, I can tell you that it's not an easy path. I mean, it's a learning of lifetimes, and uh, people lose patience as well. So don't worry about people who are losing patience. Let's try to keep going forward because there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So okay, so let's talk about manual of life. So far, what we have talked about in the last session is that there is a God. Okay, which is good. But there was a question also, right? Okay, what should I think about God? Right? How should I remember God? Or who's that God, by the way? The question is, how do we get to know about that God? A lot of people say, show me God and then only I will believe. No, okay. That argument has some problems, and we'll try to understand that. So let's try to understand more and delve deeper into this particular topic of how do we get to know about anything in the world. So, of course, to begin with, I mean, as we know that and we'll talk about Vedas also, and we'll talk about many more things today. So Vedas, as we know that, people used to believe that plants don't have life, and Jagdish Chandra Bose, I think maybe 100 years back, less than that, figured out that plants actually have life. But we, in the Vedic wisdom, we always knew that plants have life. Our scriptures call it char and achar, something which is movable and non-movable. Both have life. Like for example, embryology, right? Embryology is something which was known to us. Since ages, since thousands of years, it was known how month over month or day over day how the child grows. That was very well known. Cow products, Vedic, so many things, right? Ayurveda, Vastu, you name it. Like so many things are known to us. So a very rich culture that we are carrying. Unfortunately, we think that it's all myth, mythology, and things. But anyways, so we'll talk about this part as well. So we'll talk about a couple of things, but let's go further so that we can really talk about them. And any point of time, feel free to stop me for questions, or towards the end, we can talk as much as you want. Okay, so here is a story of six blind men. Okay, I don't know if may have heard it, but let me still repeat. Okay. Anybody knows this story? Okay. All right. By the way, I don't see even the faces, so that's why I'm not able to hear things. I mean, it'll be really good. Humble request if you can turn on your cameras. I mean, it's easy to relate to each other and understand what's going on. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. But let me still repeat. I will talk about some learnings from this story. So, at one point in the village, there were six blind men who actually bumped across an elephant, and they all were holding on to some part of the elephant. While they were doing that, they all made their own theories around it. Okay, the person who was holding the tusk or a trunk, he thought that it's a snake because that's the only thing he could experience. The second person thought it's a rope, who was holding the tail. Similarly, the person holding the ear thought it's a fan, a big fan. Person holding the body of the elephant thought it's a wall. Person holding the tusk, he thought it's a arrow, and the legs, person who was holding the legs, he thought it's a tree trunk, right? So, um, what do you think? Were they wrong or right? What do you guys think? Any thoughts? You can unmute if you want. I can neither hear nor see, so would be really good if I can. Okay, right in their context. Yeah, they were right in their context, correct. But this is not the absolute truth, right? And by the way, the interesting thing is that this is how we see the world, right? I mean, their knowledge was not wrong in some sense, but it was not complete, and it was not a perfect knowledge about the elephant. None of them could figure out what is the real elephant is, right? It was just context based, right? Whatever perspective they form. Similarly, in science also we see that people keep on arguing about things. Somebody argues that light is a wave, another person says it's a particle. Oh, maybe they are both right, but light is something else in between, right? It behaves like a wave and a particle both. But because these people are blind, they cannot see the truth, right? So then what is the way? How can we know about anything, right? Even about, before getting to know about God, we need to figure out how do we get to know, right? So what is the way to get this knowledge? I'll answer it at the end of the session, right? And then you'll be able to appreciate what I'm saying. So anyways, as I said, before getting to know about God, let's try to understand how can we get to know about any knowledge, right? So these are high level three ways that about knowing about anything, and I'll elaborate on each of them, so don't worry. Yeah, again, a request, if you can turn on your cameras. I can tell you this much, right? We are doing it virtual, but this session is best done in person, and then only you'll be able to get some value out of it. And you'll end up losing out on things, and that I can assure you. If Because this requires some level of attention, right? And that's the reason I have turned on my camera. Otherwise, an audio recording would have been enough if this would have been like that. I do have my audio recordings or others audio recording on this session, but it will not help, is the problem. Is it possible for people to turn on? Anukriti ji, Aarti ji, can you do that? Or Swati ji? If there is a bandwidth issue, okay, but I don't know in this world if there is any such thing right now. Okay, thank you. Whoever could turn on. For others, they could turn on whenever they are comfortable. That should be okay. But we'll help you if you actually do that. Okay, we'll have a better communication. So, anyways, moving ahead, let's talk about the first one called the Pratyaksh Praman. Now, what does Pratyaksh Praman means? It means direct sense perception. People argue, right? Show me God and then I will believe. Or seeing is believing. That's what they think, right? Maybe it is, but let's see the fallacies of this, right? So, can it give us full knowledge? What do you guys think? Can you actually get to know about something only by seeing and then only you'll believe it? Is it always true in the normal life? Any thoughts? Okay, all right. Yeah, Swati says no. Any other thoughts, anyone? Am I audible?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
I don't know.
pretty much.
Okay. Anyways, yeah. So, oh yes, yes. Okay, you're audible. Okay, I'm audible. All right. So it means I'm audible. Okay. So let's move further. So basically, seeing is not always believing. Like for example, in this picture, you see that these railway tracks uh, are meeting at one point, right? And we might have seen that, right? The earth and sky seems to be meeting, or this railway track seem to be meeting, but we know for sure that they are not meeting, right? So it means that seeing is not really believing, right? Or in a concave mirrors, right? People appear to be thin or fat or long or short. If a movie's actress get to see this, probably she'll die of um, anxiety or something like that, right? So none of this is true, and we know that, right? So seeing is not always believing, right? Or these pencils, right? They appear to be broken, but we know it is not broken; they are intact. Or the water in the street, right? That is not, there's no water in the street, it's just a mirage, and we have read about it in our textbooks. Now, why we don't get this knowledge? It's not about only seeing, but from other senses also. And why do we don't get that knowledge completely? Let's talk about it a bit. Because of these four problems, okay, we can never get absolute knowledge by our senses. It is not possible. Okay, and feel free to stop me any point if you don't agree with me. So the first thing is called imperfect senses. So our senses are not totally perfect. The second thing is called to be illusion and committing mistakes and cheating propensities. And we'll talk about each one of them. So the first one, maybe in your from your school days that our eyes can only see from 400 to 700 millimicron. Okay, that is called the visible spectrum, the Vibgyor. right? And beyond that, there is a ultraviolet light, and then there is a infrared light. Okay. And that area is not visible to us. So if something is happening in that area, we can never experience it, right? Maybe there is some magical things out there, but we cannot see that really, right? So our eyes are not perfect that way. They can only see up to some level, right? Our ears, they can only hear from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, right? And beyond that, there is a infra sound and ultrasonic sound and things like that, right? Which bats or other animals can hear, but we cannot hear. The dog whistle when they play, the dogs are able to hear it, but we cannot hear it. So it is not the perfect way to gain knowledge through our ears also, right? Because our ears are also defective. And the same thing, right? I mean, or somebody could argue that no, even if my senses are imperfect, but at least using instruments like telescope, microscope, I'll be able to get to know about it perfectly, right? So then there is this Nobel Prize winner, Eugene Wiener. What he says is that if you even photograph the stars, there are three problems. The first is that using these imperfect senses, you are creating that telescope. Okay. So it may not be precise. The second thing is that, oh, you are handling this telescope also using your imperfect senses. And the third problem is that you are going to observe the photos taken also through your senses. Now, because your senses are not perfect, you're not going to get a perfect knowledge out of it. Okay. So essentially, even using machines, we cannot get the perfect understanding of the whole thing. We make mistakes, right? We know that. I mean, like, these things are not precise. And in fact, the second problem is that we get illusion. Okay, because our senses are not perfect, we get illusion. How? I don't know if you have ever tried, but try to eat something sweet like a gulab jamun, and then eat something like a orange, right? And what you'll feel is that orange is sour. Okay, it doesn't taste sweet. I mean, I'm sure all of you must have experienced something of this nature, right? Or if you eat lemons and then you eat orange, then the same orange will appear to be sweet. So it is neither sour nor sweet, but this is how our senses tells us. Or if you in terms of skin, right? I mean, if you touch a hot water and then a normal water, then that normal water appears to be cold. And if you touch a cold water and then a normal water, then the same normal water appears to be hot, right? But the same is the water is the same. There is no difference in terms of hot or cold, right? So it's our senses like tongue or skin which is deceiving us, which because of which we are getting illusion. And in fact, it's not just hand or the skin or taste, but in fact many other things. Like for example, our eyes deceive us. Like in this picture, can anybody say there is an old lady or a young lady? What do you think?
Yes, both.
Is there a old or a young lady?
There are both present. The old lady is looking downward and the young lady is looking backward.
I can't hear if anybody is speaking.
Can you hear me? This is Swati. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, Swati ji,
You can even type or something.
I am able to hear you. Niren Prabhuji, are you not able to hear?
Does it looks like a boring topic? I mean, do you want to discuss something else? We can discuss something else also.
This is interesting. This is going good. Can you hear me? Hello.
Hello.
Swati ji, I can hear you.
I'm audible, right?
Yes, Nirenji, you are audible.
Okay. Was I audible all along? Okay.
I can hear Swati.
So yeah, is it a
I
old
can
lady
hear
or a young lady?
Swati.
What do you see here? No, I'm not able to hear anyone. Okay, maybe I am not able to hear anyone. Okay, just give me a moment. Okay, one moment. Hello,
Hello. Yeah, Prabhuji, able to hear me?
can you hear me now? Can you respond? I can't hear anyone.
Yes, Narendra you are very much audible to us.
Can anybody speak?
And oh, Nirenji, you're very
Okay,
much
I'm not
audible
able
to
to hear.
us.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm not able to hear at all. One moment.
Hello.
Okay. Yes, I can hear. Okay, so what do you see? Sorry about this confusion. Old lady or a young lady? I just wanted to know this
Do
from
you
from
hear?
India.
Do you
Yes,
hear
yes,
again? Okay.
yes, right.
So the old lady seemed to be looking somewhat downward with a big
Okay,
nose, wherein a young
okay,
lady with slight hint of nose,
yeah,
she's looking towards her right side.
right. Yeah, so it's not. Yeah, it's both. I mean, maybe right. I mean, so our eyes sort of deceive us sometimes. Anybody sees a triangle in this?
Yes.
Yeah, but there's no triangle by the way, right? So
Yeah.
so there is some. How many people do you see? A young couple or an old couple? Right.
There is old couple, and besides that,
Yeah, there
there
is
is two
also
two young players. One holding
correct.
a mandolin, and
Yeah,
another one is just performing.
right,
And there is a
right,
woman at the
correct.
ear of the old
Yes,
man. There's one
yes,
woman also.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Now I can hear everybody perfectly. It sounds like as if
Cool.
my senses are back. They were deceiving me. Okay, all right.
Technology, man-made technology, right? As you said.
Yes, yes. So this is how it looks like. Like, does it look like moving? This whole thing,
Sorry,
Not to
I'm
me.
moving. I can't differentiate it.
right?
Well,
But
not to me. It is not moving. I mean, I
yeah,
can't find it moving.
okay, yeah, it's a projection, but for some it appears to be moving also. By the way,
Yeah,
uh,
but if I see it, I mean, if I stare at it for like 3, 4 seconds, then yes, it was moving.
yes, even this is appears to be moving, right? But it's a static image. None of this is moving, by the way. Okay, so it's all optical illusion. I mean, there are so many of them. Um, the uber point is that our senses actually illusion us also. So because they are not perfect, and we get illusion by them. The third problem is that there is a something called as tendency to commit mistake. Because we get illusion, we make mistakes. Okay, at one point blood used to be thought as an organ to cool the, like brain used to be thought as an organ to cool the blood. Okay, people thought that, oh, that is the only use of brain. But our pituitary gland, which is now called master gland, it used to be thought that it's a wastage. Okay, it was of no use to the body. That's what people thought. But now we know that, oh, pituitary gland is very useful. It's a very important part of our body, right? So we make mistakes. Like there is something called as Hubble constant, which measures the speed at which the galaxies are going away from each other, and that constant has been changing, and it has changed so many times that people jokingly started calling it as Hubble variable instead of Hubble constant, because people thought of one value for it, and then they later realized, no, it's not that exactly, and that they kept on changing it. So we make mistake, right? And it's okay. I mean, we are humans, or scientists are also humans. The problem is that whatever scientists observe, we think of it as absolute truth because it is published in journals and published all over the place and things like that, right? uh, so that is the problem, and that is what we have studied, and that's what we thought think as truth. The fourth problem with our senses, observing something with our senses, is that there is a cheating propensities in human. Now, what does that cheating propensity mean, right? You will say, "Ki, nahi, come on, I mean, we don't cheat," or something like that, right? But it's an inherent thing. Now, remember in your school days when you were trying to take measure of maybe the gravitational constant, and you made mistake, and whatever, you took many readings but the value was not coming out to be 9.8. And then what you did is you actually somehow you knew that value, so you cooked up some readings around it to round it off and make it sound like 9.8. So that's what we do. Somehow or the other, people sometimes just try to prove the theories to be correct. For example, there was, I mean, many examples around on the net. This is one of them, which is called pill down man hoax. So pill down man, I mean, based on Darwin's theory, if you know, right? Because we are coming from ape, so somehow there should be a connection between the human and the ape, like the missing link. There should be something in between. And for years, scientists were not able to find that missing link. So one day in 1912, they found that there was a human, uh, uh, ape skull with a jaw like human. So they thought, okay, this is the missing link, and they kept it in British Museum also. For years and years, it was taught to us in the school books also, that this is the way that missing link is there. But in 1952, 1953, after a couple of years, they realized that it is actually a human skull, and they had filed the jaw and fit it into that skull to look like the half human and half ape. Okay, and it was clearly a fraud which was done, and then they threw it out. But still, lot of times people get to know about it, and there are many such examples where a cheating has been done. Okay, just to prove a point, just to prove a theory. Okay, so these are pretty much the fourth. I mean, I will not go to this video, but pretty much lot of such examples which tell us that pratyaksha praman, or the direct sense perception, has flaws. So just by your observation, you cannot really get to know the absolute truth. It's very difficult. Any thoughts, contradictions, or whatever, like, disagreements or things like that, and we can discuss that. And do you think it makes sense what I'm saying?
Yes, it makes sense.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. It does make sense, whatever you say.
Okay. Good. All right. So let's talk about another way to gain knowledge, which is called Anuman Praman. Now, Anuman Praman means Anuman. Anu means, like, to follow, and man means, like, our mind. So just follow our mind. Whatever mind says, just go with that. Okay, just make up something, and we will see if it makes sense or not. So that is called Anuman Praman. Okay, and you must be wondering, why am I talking about all of this? But I'll come to a point after reaching all of this. So it is something like, oh, it may be like this, or it may be like that, and people make up some theory, and they come up with something called as theory. Really, theory in science is like which you have thought about. Okay, called Anuman. The one example of this is Charles Darwin's theory of origin of species. Okay, the Darwin theory, we think that it is the absolute theory, but it is actually based on Anuman. Okay, I don't know if you don't trust me, you can actually go read that book, the original book called Origin of Species, and this is what he wrote there. Okay, he wrote in a letter, I'm a firm believer that without speculation there is no good and original observation. After 5 years work, I allowed myself to speculate on the subject and drew up some short notes. These I enlarged in 1844 into a sketch of the conclusions which seemed to me probable. So actually, if you observe this sentence paragraph closely, he talks about things like speculation, probable, speculate on the subject, right? So in fact, in the Origin of Species book, he has used these kind of terms 700 times, where he just thought about something. Maybe it is like that, maybe it is like this, and probably we came from a, probably this is how it happened, and things like that. Okay, and so the thing is that, like, that we think that these are two theories, but maybe it is not. But by the way, it's an interesting theory. I mean, you would say, come on, I mean, even if he speculated, maybe it is right. What is the problem, right? So let us see. So what he speculated is that if this theory is true, then what should happen is that you should actually see on the top layer. If you start digging the earth, you should see on the top humans. As you go down, you should see some lower species, like apes should be there. Then maybe the fishes or such amphibians should be there. And towards the end, single cellular organisms should be there, right? It makes sense, right? Logically, because we came from those single cellular organisms to ape and to humans. So that is what you should see if you start digging that. But when they start digging the earth, they saw something interesting. And what they saw is that at the 40,000 years, when he said humans would have evolved, they saw the humans. And at 10,000, 1 lakh years or 4 lakh years, 1 million years, even 2 million years, 4 million years, they saw humans and monkeys, all of them in the earth. This is what was observed. Okay, if you don't trust me, there are like many books written on this subject. Okay, some of them I can name. I mean, like, there's something called as Bone Peddler. Okay, there's another one called Forbidden Archaeology by Michael Crimmum. I mean, those books actually talk about the fallacies of this theory. Now, why they don't come out? Because these are not mainstream things, right? So that is one problem. I mean, like, that, oh, by digging that rock, you cannot prove that this theory is correct. In fact, there are many interesting observations of this theory. Like for example, if you ask, if you think logically, right, what was said is that there were fishes, and then the fishes came on land, and then they became mammals. Okay, now if that is true, then how come whale is a mammal? Because whale is a fish. So when Darwin was asked this question, what Darwin said was hilarious. He said that, oh, maybe a bear, which is a mammal, would have gone to the water, and in the water, he was trying to catch fish. And while doing that, he kept his mouth open, like, okay. And with that mouth, he kept on trying to catch fish. For years and years, he kept on doing that, and he turned into a whale. Okay, this is the explanation given for how the whale came into existence. Okay, now do you think it makes sense? And this is all real. I mean, like, I'm not making up any of this, but I'm just telling that the fallacies of speculation. Okay, now do you think it makes sense? Anyone, does it make sense to, I mean, or if you know anything else about it, then let me know.
Okay, so possibly I can throw some light.
Yeah.
So historically, although it might be a little off track, but by the history of this whole thing, Darwin was a rich and laid back gentleman. Of course, he was good at speculation and documenting it. It so happened that he got supported by another gentleman called Wallace, who
Hmm.
wasn't so rich. Therefore, he traveled around the world and happened to collect evidences to give strength to speculations of Darwin.
Yeah.
And Darwin happened to be generous enough to give credit to Wallace in his books and called it as Darwin Wallace theory.
Yeah.
So, a lot
Yes.
of what we hear as Darwin's speculations were actually only speculations, no evidences.
That's right. And in fact, the kind of things that Wallace collected were mostly like they roamed around many islands to see the different birds. Okay. And by observing those birds, they could figure out a pattern and things like that. But that doesn't prove that man came from ape. Okay. There are many fallacies, is all I'm saying. I mean, like, many things cannot be explained by this theory. And
True,
uh,
true, totally on
yeah,
your side.
right. So, yeah. Yes, Megan, tell me.
Yeah. So actually, we have studied in our books, and people firmly believe the theory of evolution. And like when we touch upon this topic, they just say that scientists have seen the fossils year on year. So the example which you gave, that it was actually a cheating done. So it's very difficult to make them convince,
Hmm. So
because
as I
it's
said,
hard route.
yeah, so there are facts. I mean, I've studied this area for quite some time, actually, and I have a lot of books on this subject also. I mean, as I was mentioning, if you actually Google for Michael Cameo, you'll find a couple of books on this subject. And
So can you message in WhatsApp so that we can also look into, like we can help. I mean,
I
we can help
I
with the
can I
argument.
can share. Yeah, I can share the references on this. Yes, sure. Yeah, because this is of course something, and that is close to our heart, and we think that no, this is absolutely true. I'm not saying that, see, it is true or false, but the point is that by speculation you can only think so much, only because you are really not a perfect person. Like that way I can make a theory, right, calling the white bird theory, that all birds are white. This is my theory, because whenever I go to my balcony, I only see white birds. Okay, so then I will make a theory saying that, oh, all birds are white, because this is the only thing I can observe, right? So much only I can observe. Now, if one day I see a blue bird, then I will modify my theory a bit and say that, oh, some birds are also blue, but otherwise all the birds are white. And this is what is going on here, right? I mean, you just amend it a bit, like and these things are facts. What I'm saying. In fact, let me tell you another hilarious story. Okay, you know how giraffe came into existence? So, as per Darwin theory, giraffe came into existence because there were some small, I mean, like the neck of the giraffe. Why is it so long? So they said, oh, at one point the neck was small, but then there was shortage of grass. So what they did is that giraffe started pushing higher to reach to the bigger trees, and then gradually, as they kept on doing it, their neck started stretching, and this is how giraffe's neck is long. It makes sense, right? It is logical. Nukriti ji, I'll just reach out to you. Let me just finish this story. Okay. So So this is what was told. Now, okay, it looks perfectly fine. Now there are some issues with this. Okay, I'll tell you what. Like one of the issue is that if giraffe had to stretch their neck, right? What about other animals? Right? There were other animals like rabbits or deers which also survived, and they're surviving even now, right? In the same area. So how were they able to eat? The second problem is, okay, if giraffe had to stretch the neck, right, and what about uh, water, because the water is down and they must be doing that also, right? So many other things. I mean, if for example, if monkeys, we came from monkeys, then how come monkeys are also surviving even now? If if everything is because of the need, right? It is said that, oh, when you have some need in your life, then actually that thing, you get adapted to that environment, right? You get evolved into that. If that is true, then why these eyes are evolved? I mean, there is no answer in the Darwin theory, by the way, in this, specifically for eye. Because if you don't have eye, there is no need for you to have eyes, because you are living perfectly without the eyes. Then how come the eye came out in existence? Because I mean, it's a philosophical thing topic, but long debated topic, and not no perfect answer for it. Yeah, Anukriti, you have your hand raised.
Yes. So I just wanted to, ask a question कि
Hmm.
अगर सपोज डार्विन की थ्योरी एंड ऑल हम नहीं भी मानते हैं, बट
Hmm.
विष्णु जी के जो अलग अलग अवतार हैं, जो उनके 10 अवतार हैं, जिसमें
Hmm.
जस्ट अ सेकंड, मुझे एक बार देखना, जैसे मत्स्य अवतार,
I got
फिर
it.
कूर्म अवतार, वारा, हाँ, तो वो सारा काफी रिलेटेबल लगता है, तो ऐसा लगता है क्योंकि उसमें भी लिखा है, तो मे बी ही वॉज राइट, मतलब क्योंकि पहले मुझे ऐसा ही लगता था कि कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं कि क्योंकि उसमें भी ऐसे था, क्यों, और
हाँ,
फिर उसके
but
बाद ऐसा माना जाता था कि पहले जो अर्ली ह्यूमंस थे, देवर शॉर्ट हाइटेड, वो बहुत लंबे नहीं होते थे, और विष्णु जी का जो बामन अवतार थे, जो लास्ट अवतार, वो वैसे ही था, तो क्या इसमें इतना रिलेशन कैसे है? बस
इसमें
ये सवाल है मेरा।
हाँ, so I will tell you one thing, ठीक है, and I will reach into this topic at a later point of this talk
ओ,
also. One thing
ओके,
I will tell,
ओके,
मैं
ओके।
बताता हूँ, I'll tell you what, you know why there are actually भगवान के सिर्फ 10 अवतार नहीं हुए हैं, पता है आपको? I mean, I'll just tell you this thing.
हम्म,
Then I mean, there are
हम्म,
innumerous avatars which have happened, or
हाँ, हाँ,
lot of them are documented, and there are there are some which are not documented. Whatever we have
ओके,
available is Srimad Bhagavatam, which talks about so many of avatars. Okay, and that is not all. And in fact, the earlier avatars are like Hamsa avatar, okay, which happened way before even other avatars that you are talking about. Okay, so this order of arranging them, and how come these 10 avatars are only prominent? Oh, no, they are not the only avatars. There are Guna avatars, there are Lila avatars, there are Manvantar avatars, there are many avatars. Okay, and these are all category of avatars, what I'm talking about. And all of them have many avatars in them. Okay, and they keep on happening. There are Shakti-Avesh avatars, there are so many. I mean, like, I can just keep naming them. There are Yuga avatars, and there are not one of them. These are just category of avatars. Okay, so we, as normal persons who don't read the scriptures, we think that only 10 of them happened. I'll tell you five names that you might not have heard. Okay, and there are avatars of Vishnu. Okay, so this way of arranging and things, see, our things have been played with at times. Okay, and we have been just given things that make sense types. Okay, nothing else. That's all what it is. Okay, and our education system and everything has been heavily
तो मतलब
manipulated, and
हमने अपने कन्वीनियंस के हिसाब से रिलेट कर लिया है,
correct,
आधा
correct.
सच, मतलब वो
आधा
पूरा सच भी नहीं है।
पूरा भी नहीं, बिल्कुल भी नहीं, मतलब, yeah.
मैं समझ
Have
गई।
you heard this phrase, Hari Ananta, Hari Katha Ananta? Well, like, what it means is that there are innumerous avatars which keep happening, and there are innumerous stories which
हम्म,
exist. Okay, hard to
हम्म,
quantify also. So these
हम्म।
10 are not the only avatars which happen. Okay, so just arrangement. That's
मैं
all.
सिर्फ, मेरा एक थोड़ा सा पर्सनल
हाँ,
क्वेश्चन है, तो
yes.
क्योंकि आप यू सेड कि आप बहुत सालों से यू हैव बीन इनटू स्पिरिचुअलिज्म, तो क्या आपने भी वो सारी चीजें एक्सपीरियंस की हैं जो लोग बताते हैं यूट्यूब पे, यू नो,
Yeah.
देयर इज अनदर वर्ल्ड, बहुत ब्यूटीफुल है, और वहां पे भगवान है, वहां पे मतलब वो सारा ग्रुप ऑफ, यू नो, आई डोंट नो, भगवान के जो भी होंगे देव लोग, क्या वाकई में
Hmm.
ऐसा होता है?
Hmm. Yes. Wakai mein salt.
आपने एक्सपीरियंस किया है?
Yes. So I'll tell you
आपने
what.
देखा है?
How. So I will tell you one thing. Okay.
वाओ।
Wow. Matlab, हाँ, I will explain. I'll explain how I have seen it, and that is what we are talking about right now. Okay. And I will, by the end of the
यस।
session, you will be able to see some part of it also. So the point is that
ओके।
spirituality is called, संस्कृत में spirituality को क्या बोलते हैं पता है आपको? It's called darshan.
दर्शन। हाँ।
Philosophy को, like the right word of philosophy is darshan, right? And darshan का मतलब
ओके।
होता है कि you get to see that really. Okay. By
राइट।
you can actually get to see it. And we are talking about how can you see God. That is the topic that we are talking about. Right. And I will, by the end of the session, we'll talk about that. So stay with me.
ओके।
Yes.
ओके।
Yeah. Okay. So let's go further. So the point is कि this is not the way. I mean, like, so what we realized is that कि प्रत्यक्ष प्रमाण से we cannot actually observe things. Because we say, right, and that is what your question is also. कि अरे, have you seen the spiritual world? Or have you seen the Devlok? Right? By our eyes, we cannot see it. By this charm chakshu, it is not possible. This is what scriptures say. Okay. By our eyes made up of all this flesh and things, it is not possible. It doesn't make sense because they are not perfect. Also, it is not possible by our speculation, because speculation can at times lead us to issues. And I just talked about Darwin theory. There are so many of them. Right now, somebody will say, what is the problem here? Come on. If the research gives me not perfect knowledge, what is the problem? Because at least I get electronic gadgets in my life which are good, and they also keep on getting better, right? I mean, these research keep on happening. There is no problem. Let them do it, whatever. But think about it, like this half understanding is problematic. So many gadgets we have been given, but with each of them there comes some problem. I mean, our kids are struggling right now with this ADHD, the sleeplessness, and all sort of things, right? So many bad things are happening. I mean, you can see that I'm wearing a spec only because of looking at this computer for long hours, right? So that is what we have been given. So there comes some kind of downside also, because they don't understand the full perspective. Think about that elephant story, right? We just see one side and we make decisions. Like, for example, people invented plastic without understanding how can they destroy it. And right now, the big problem is you cannot do anything with that plastic, because if you burn it, it will create a variety of bad gases. You cannot do anything with that. If you throw it in the water, oceans, then the fishes will die. People, if you throw it in space, then there will be so many. You cannot do anything with that. That is the problem. And people are just struggling with those problems. So we have invented things for which we have no control because of our pratyaksh, pramad, and anuman. All of that we did, right? So many researches. I will not go into all the details. Like, for example, there was a bubonic plague. I mean, talking about pandemics, right? At one point in the European part of Russia. And when that happened, people thought that this is happening because of the cats. And so they killed all the cats in that area. And then later they realized that no, it happened actually because of the rats. And by then it was too late, because now you have already killed the cats. You cannot even have cats kill the rats. And so it spread like wildfire, and it went for quite some time in the history, right? You can read about it. And there are so many such things, I mean, where because of our human way of understanding, we got into trouble, right? Can you think of any example where we, because of our humans halfway of doing things, our research and science, we got into trouble? Any example you can think of? Anyone?
Even it's happening now with so many medicines. We are developing resistant new strains.
Yes, yes, exactly, right. At one point, these American president said that, I don't know, the malaria medicine or something might be effective in pandemic, and he ordered all the medicines from all over the place. From Indian government was also pressurized, and so many things. And they later realized, no, it's not useful so much. And that's what I read in the newspaper. But so many of the things. I mean, if you actually Google, you will see that Coca-Cola, at one point they used to put cocaine into it. Okay, because they thought that it is not harmful. And you will find advertisement on the net, old advertisement. Okay, and they later realized, no, cocaine is not safe. and then they were theoretically supposed to remove it, and that's where the name came from, that, by the way. And many such things, right? I mean, we invented these cars and stuff like that, and then we got into the trouble of pollution and accidents and so many things, right? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so one question which I often get asked is when we discuss this, it all seems correct, but people ask that what do you want? Do you want us to go back to the Stone Age? So it's like an extreme which I hear, like either modern, as I stay in this world, or like you become the, the caveman.
No, it's not about being a caveman, or I'm not saying that no, we stop using all of this, right? But it is all about, there was something else which was taught to us apart from this, okay, in the previous ages, and that was how can we actually make the right use of our resources. Right now it is just about blindly trying to accumulate things. That's what we are trying to do. I mean, I have seen in places like Delhi, you will see that a house has two people, and they'll have 6 cars in their house, right? Or some things that you don't need in your life, right? Right now people think that, oh, India or China is like a number of people. Well, how big is the market? So everybody wants to launch the product, and then they want to make it attractive, right? At one point when people used to do brush with uh, charcoal or this salt and all, the initial advertisement of Colgate, I don't know if you have seen it, years back, used to say that, oh, the salt is bad for your teeth. But now they say, the same people say that, no, so our toothpaste has namak, right? It has salt, so it is nice thing to do, right? They don't care about us. All they care about is selling product to us, and we don't have enough education, enough control. We talked about mind and intelligence and things like that, right? We have stopped making use of our intelligence. All we want is that, okay, whatever is the best thing to do, you just go buy it, right? So it is about also um, understanding this thing, right? I mean, it's also about our SQ. People talk about IQ, EQ, and things like that, but there is something called a spiritual quotient. I mean, that is something which is lacking, and we need to understand what is the right thing to do. Where should we actually buy plastic things or not, or is it just convenience, so that we'll do it, and things like that. I mean, I'm not talking about environment only, but I'm talking about even our body, our children's. Without thinking, we keep on giving them gadgets and things like that. So it's not about whether we should have gadgets or not, but what are they used for? Are we using it for the right purpose? Is the point, right? I mean, to people who actually think that no, it's not about going to Stone Age, only for them, right? Yes, please go ahead. Sorry, your voice.
सॉरी सो इसका आंसर ये नहीं हो सकता कि स्टोन एज में जाने के लिए नहीं, पर हम मे भी इसलिए ऐसा कर रहे हैं कि हमको इन गैजेट्स की जरूरत ही ना पड़े. आई मीन वी टॉक ऑन फोन, हो सकता है हम टेलीपैथी से बात कर लें. अगर हम अपने सेंसेस को इतना जितने भी हमारे पास, जो भी हमारा पूरा ब्रेन, अगर हम उसको कंप्लीटली यूज कर सकते हैं, तो मे बी हम एक ऐसे लेवल पे पहुंच जाए कि हम कहीं से कहीं भी जा सके, हमको ट्रेन और इन चीजों की जरूरत ही ना पड़े जो पोल्यूशन कर रहे हैं. तो
नहीं, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, आप बोल सकते हो ऐसा, पर प्रॉब्लम ये है कि जब काइंड ऑफ पीपल दैट मेगा जी इज टॉकिंग अबाउट, दे विल लाफ एट यू बिकॉज़ दे विल थिंक कि आप कैसी बातें कर रहे हो. ऐसा कुछ होता है क्या कहीं?
पर इट इज पॉसिबल ना, लोग ऐसा हैं दुनिया में जिन्होंने ये पॉसिबल किया है.
बिल्कुल, it is possible, but that is the point. I mean, the point is that ki, do you want to get into an argument with them and trying to prove it? So my only point is that ki, those people right now, what are we doing? Let's see practical from your eyes, right? What are you doing with these things? Yeah, I mean, like whatever you think is real, like your laptop is real, your TV is real, your mobile is real. Actually, what is it giving to you? I mean, it is only giving to you more anxiety,
pleasure, entertainment.
Not really. It is taking you away from your family.
I mean, okay, short term pleasure, exactly. Short term entertainment.
But yes, because that is the only thing we can think of. But actually, in a broader picture, we are actually taking you away from your family with your kids, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
और आपकी अपनी imaginative skills को भी कम कर रहे हैं.
Yeah, when we were children, then our parents used to tell us कि बाहर जाओ खेलो. I mean, like no, घर पे आओ, because बाहर बहुत खेल लिया. Right now, what happens is that we tell our children that no, you should go out a bit.
कि बाहर जाओ. Yes.
Correct. Yeah. So what is it giving to us, right? We don't even know what we are inventing. So it's better that we also think, I mean, like, what is the right thing to do for our children, for
अब
us, for
जैसे
our
हम लोग बचपन में कहानियां सुनते थे तो हम इमेजिन करते थे, कैरेक्टर्स इमेजिन करते थे, पूरा वो सेटअप इमेजिन करते थे। अभी स्टोरी टेलिंग कम हो गया है तो बच्चे इमेजिन कम करते होंगे। मतलब हम तो लाइक डेली बेसिस पे 10 कहानी 5 कहानी दादी से, नानी से, नाना से सुनते थे। तो ऑब्वियसली उसका है तो एडवर्स इफेक्ट तो है ही बच्चों पे, वो तो लाइक डिनाई कर ही नहीं सकते हम।
Right. So many things, right? I mean, earlier we had bullock carts. So bullock cart never used to collide. There was no accident. There was no pollution. There was no issues. Right now, you can fly on planes. You can actually go underwater. But if somebody says ki go and walk on the road, then you cannot do that. Right? That is the situation for us, which is our natural way of transportation. Even we are not able to do it. So I don't know which direction we are going. Yes, Megha, tell me.
Sorry, so follow-up question. Like when we have the right knowledge, and as you said, it's not like we should stop using the technology, but we should know that how to make correct use of it. But even if in that case, there will be an impact on our health. Like for example, you quoted that we sit in front of laptop or phone. Now it may be like how we are attending this class right now. So we are exposing ourselves to the phone screen. So it will have a health benefit. Yes, but it's not good. I mean, we are doing. So sorry about this. I think you got the question.
Yeah, so you're saying, the question is that the bad benefits will be there. Yes, of course. I mean, yes, it will be. The problem is that, I mean, this is just for the argument's sake that somebody is saying that yes, but if you know the right thing, right? I mean, if you know that there is the problem with this, you would not indulge too much. And this is only for those people, by the way. I mean, only for those people. I can tell you there is a better answer to it also for all of us who are spending a Sunday evening here to know more about it. The better answer is that actually there is more glory to not being able to use it. Like Anukriti ji was saying, right? Ki, earlier we had that imagination. Earlier we used to write stories. Earlier we used to collect stamps, and those were our hobbies. Or go out and collect the leaves and go on top of the tree and pluck a mango and things like that, right? That used to be our hobbies and pastimes and things like that, and they were really nice way to grow, right? It physically, mentally, everything. It used to make you better person. I mean, even more your social skills and things like that. But right now, I mean, we all know what's going on, right? So we have to understand that part also. Yes, Arti. Hello.
Yeah. 1 second. So just to add a point to this, I think that time will also come, because I feel that slowly we are actually going back to those ancient times. So like now we have started using mud pots. Even for cooking, we are using those mud clay pots, and we are going back to using iron vessels instead of those non-stick pans and stuff.
Yes.
So of course we are actually going back to those times. We are,
but not completely, right? Still, what is happening is that still we are actually partially going, but partially. So we are confused, right? We don't know what is the right path. I mean, one scientist once said that when actually these scientists will reach to the peak of their knowledge, they will realize that the philosophers were always there. I mean, at that point. So it's also about understanding here what is the overall, the complete picture. What is the right knowledge? We sometimes bump into something right and then we do it, and sometimes not, and things like that, right? So we have to be convinced and do the right thing. Anyways, let's going further to this subject. So we already talked about that half knowledge is dangerous. I mean, so many bad things have happened in the past. So if Pratyaksh and Anuman are not the right knowledge, are you convinced that they are not the complete way to gain knowledge by now? If anybody still doesn't agree, let me know. Then what is the way to gain knowledge? Is the point, right? So should we watch this video? Let's watch this video. Are you able to hear?
No.
Okay, then it doesn't matter. Still, there's no sound anyways. There's a music. So just see this person, this bear just saw a machine and he doesn't know how to operate. Think of it like our earth, okay, that we bumped into this earth or our body, and we don't know how to operate it, and then we try something, okay, something might work, something might not work, right, and we keep pressing something or the other, and this is what happens. Right, and that's what is going on, right? We are almost destroying our planet, destroying ourselves, inventing nuclear weapons and things like that, just trying to destroy us. We don't even know what is the right thing to do. So yep, so that way Pratyaksha and Anuman Praman are not going to are not completely taking us further. That's the whole point, nothing else, right? So if they are not, then what is the thing? Like, it would have been very easy if this person, if this beer would have also got a manual for this machine, right? Like, you get a TV and you also get a manual with it. So where is the manual for this world, right? What is that? I mean, if you have the manual, you get to know that, oh, if I press this button, this will happen, the TV will turn on, TV will turn off, and that is the easy way to learn. And because this peer don't have that, he's not able to gain the knowledge. Aarti, you still have your hand raised. Tell me.
Yeah, so my question was that if Darwin's theory is not true, so why is our education system based on that? I mean,
Yeah,
not just ours, basically the entire world's education system, and it's been years and years.
Yep. Yes.
So why are we brainwashing our kids?
Yes.
And
why? See, think about Darwin theory. Darwin theory conveniently actually disproves God. Okay. Darwin theory and the theory of creation, which is the Big Bang theory. If you combine these two, you don't need God by them. Okay. Right. So it's very easy. I mean, think about that European world where the church was doing bad things to people, charging money and variety of things. And at that time, there was Renaissance and so many things, right? People actually wanted something which can give them a solace to, like, okay, God doesn't exist. Like, all these guys just go back and things like that. And this was like a convenience exit. And people just hold on to that. Okay, just read a bit of history, you will find it. What I'm saying is not a hoax. Okay.
So you'll be sharing reference material, right? I mean, basically the link.
I can share the name of the books. Yes, I can share reference material. I'm not saying, see, that, and this is not my only point that I'm trying to make. The point that I'm trying to make is, just by speculation, just by our vision, we cannot find the truth. Okay. Now, how to find the truth then? What is the way to find the truth? So then comes the third part of it, which is called Shabda Praman. That is hearing from a bona fide authority. Now, what is this? What does it mean? So the question is, how did you get to know that you should wear the left shoe in the left leg and the right shoe in the right leg? How did you got to know? Any thoughts? Any question? Anyone? Did you speculated about it, or did you actually saw it and then only did it? How did you got to learn that I should wear my left shoe in my left leg?
तो वो बनाया ही ऐसे गया था ना कि आपको लेफ्ट वाला लेफ्ट में पहनना है, राइट वाला राइट में
आपने
पहनना
कैसे
है.
सीखा? How did you got to learn? That's the question.
पेरेंट्स ने बताया है, बच्चों को तो पेरेंट्स ही समझाते हैं ना.
Correct. Yeah, that is the point, right? Somebody told you that, right? I mean, an authority, your mother, who actually knew that this is the left shoe and this is the right shoe, she told you that, and you didn't question, and you accepted it. And when you accepted it, later you realize that, yes, this is what it is. The shoe is like that, right? And now you are an authority in wearing the shoes. Now what you will do is that your child, you will teach her the same thing. Okay, and she will teach it to her child. And this is how the knowledge of wearing the shoes will pass on. And there is no doubt, there is no confusion. It is a perfectly passed knowledge which is perfectly passed, right? And this is called Shabda Praman. Okay.
तो मतलब हमको बच्चों को छोड़ देना चाहिए कि वो उल्टा पहने, और जब उनको चलने में दिक्कत होगी तो वो अपने आप सीखेंगे.
No. देखिए उसमें कितना प्रॉब्लम है, right? There is bad things can happen. He may think that this is not a shoe. He may think that it's a gloves, right? And he may start wearing it in his hand, right? And this is what we are doing with our speculation and with our pratyaksh praman. We may think that it's a hat, so somebody could wear it like a hat. Anything can happen, right? If you leave them, correct? So this is how we have learned everything in our life. By the way, just think about it logically. I mean, when we say कि अरे आपने देखा है, so try to understand this is how we have learned. We have not seen and learned. We have learned it like this, right? We actually, if you have to learn, by the way, like what is electrical engineering, then there is an authority for that called B.L. Thareja, right? I mean, and whatever book on electrical engineering he wrote, we trust, right? We don't ask question because he's an authority. Similarly, it could be anything, right? I mean, whatever we learned from our teachers in the school or from our parents, we didn't question, we used it, and we saw that also in practical things, right? Yes, that it looks real, and then we believe in it. That way, if you say that, oh, Ghana is a country, right, somewhere, and is it a country? Have you seen it? No, I have not seen it, right? Have you actually speculated? No, I have not. But somebody told me, and I trust, right? Maybe Narendra Modi is not a real person, maybe because I have not seen him, right? And but people say he's a real person, he's our prime minister, so I trust, right? So that is like hearing from somebody who has actually seen Narendra Modi, and he's coming and saying that no, I have seen it, type of thing, right? So that is called Shabda Praman. Okay, so hearing from an authority. So similarly, this is how we have learned. I mean, just think deeply, think peacefully. You will realize that this is the only way that we have learned in our life, right? Our teachers, and we trust them. Like, if you go to a barber shop, you trust the barber, and because you know that he's the authority, so you will peacefully keep your eyes closed, and you will ask him, please turn on the radio here a bit more, and he'll start cutting your hairs, and you don't worry, right? He may cut your ears or may cut your throat. You don't worry because you trust that authority. He's an authority of cutting the hairs, and then he will do his things. So this is the only way to learn the knowledge. There is no other way to learn the knowledge. Any things to add? Anybody?
Okay, now you're audible. No, you're not audible even now.
No, I was quiet. That's why I was not audible. All I was saying
Okay,
is,
all right.
yeah. All I was saying is that like Shabd Praman means hearing from the bona fide authority. So like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu. He says here that all this knowledge is coming from the disciplic succession. Now, what does disciplic succession means? A guru was there, and a guru taught that knowledge to the disciple, and the disciple later at one point became the guru, and he taught it to his disciples, and that is how the knowledge kept on transferring. And this is how the Vedic knowledge has been transferring, by the way. Okay, and Vedic knowledge, and that is why it is infallible, because that knowledge, like I was saying, right, you need a manual to operate a machine. Similarly, the manual was given by God, and that God has taught it to somebody, and that person became the guru, and he taught it to his disciple, and things like that. And it was an unchangeable knowledge which kept on passing from one person to another, and this is called the Shabda Praman. Similar to how we learned how to wear the sleepers, right? And this is all what it is. Now you will say, ki, come on, there are 2-3 issues with this problem, right? What if this person also had that imperfect senses and tendency to get illusioned? What about that, right? He may also interpret, but no, that is not possible, because here the knowledge was passed as it is. It is about, whatever you learned, as it is passed the same shloka. And the next person will say, pass the same shloka. And they kept on passing the same shloka like that. And this is how it is inchangeable. It is called aparushaya because it was given by somebody who was not a person. Okay, he was a god. He was not a human like us, right? And so that person didn't have that effect. And from there, that knowledge kept on coming, right? And then the other thing you would say is that, how can we trust that this person actually are passing it? There are many ways of verifying, by the way. The Vedic knowledge can be verified through many ways. I mean, scrutinized through many ways. Like the meter with which the mantras are there and all of that, they have to be intact. And then only a scripture can be called intact. And by that, we can scrutinize and figure out that yes, it is the right scripture as passed by others, right? So this is how the scriptural or the Vedic knowledge has been passing through this path called Shabda Praman, and that is why it is unchangeable. Like it has not gone through changes like in the scientific theory, where they sometimes say that, oh, the value of some constant is this, and then later they will say that the constant has changed and things like that. But the scriptural knowledge, it has never undergone any changes. Okay, and there are great things that people actually realize, as Aarti ji was saying, right? That actually people have seen that, oh, it keeps on. We are going back because we are realizing that the world is actually as per the scriptures. Let me give you another example, right, on this Vedic knowledge, right? If you want to know about who's the father of this child, right? There are two ways of doing it. The one way is that he decides that, okay, I will want to experience it, so I will do the DNA test of all the men who could have had me as a baby, and I will do the DNA test for all of them. Now, if you actually calculate it at a absurdly fast rate also, it will take something like 800 years. Okay, if you do a DNA test, right, of all the people. Now, by 800 years, this child will be dead and his father will be dead. Both of them will be dead. So it's useless to do it like this, right? To be able to experience it. Now, there is another way, right? The other way is that, what is the other way to find the father of this child? Any thoughts, anyone?
Ask the mom.
Yeah, exactly. That's simple, right? Exactly. You're right. Thank you. Yeah, that's the easiest way to do it, right? That ask the mother, and the mother will know because she's an authority. She knows that, oh, who's the father of this child, right? And it's an easy way to find out. And similarly, if we want to find the truth of life, if you want to know who's God, then Vedas are our mother. The books are our mother, right? And the God is the Supreme Father. And the Vedas tell us who's God, and they also tell us not just about God, but about us, about this world, and about whatever is going around, right? Things like that. So it's a simple way. I will skip videos, but yeah. So, and this is how the Vedic process of learning is, by the way. Like, for example, you will say that, no, spirituality is like some bogus, some people keep on talking here and there. How can we trust it? So just to tell you, it's as methodical as the scientific people claim they are. Okay, so like if you want to become an IIT grad, right, what you do, or an engineer, to become an engineer, you go to a college. Similarly, to get the spiritual knowledge, you go to something called as parampara or sampradaya. Okay, that is like sampradaya is something which is like, a set of a chain of disciplic succession, where there was a guru, he gave the knowledge to his disciple, and the knowledge to disciple, and the disciple, and that is called a sampradaya. So you go to an authentic sampradaya. Okay, there are few authentic sampradaya. They are not like bogus types where somebody just claims that I am a guru. No, it's not like that. Okay, a guru is a person who actually should have learned from his guru. Okay, now we should ask the question, who is your guru and who's his guru, and things like that, right? So a sampradaya is like a college. And then what you do in an engineering college is that you go and study from the professor, right? If I fancy learning from H.C. Verma because he's a great authority in physics, so I will go to IIT Kanpur and learn from him, right? So similarly, you go to the right guru in that sampradaya and you learn from him, right? And what does that guru do? I mean, what will H.C. Verma do? He will actually tell me some books, right? So similarly, that guru in the spiritual world, spiritual realm, also will suggest some books to you, like Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavat or some books, and then you are supposed to learn under his guidance. And this is the way to learn spirituality. There is pretty much no way to learn spirituality, right? Does it make sense so far?
Yes, it does.
It does.
Okay. So now, any questions? Like, what are these sampradayas, by the way? That could be the question. That should be the question, right? Or is it not there?
No, of course. I mean,
okay.
I thought you'd be sharing a few.
I'll be sharing. There are not few. There are only few. Okay. Okay. Let me skip the video. There are, but the Vedic knowledge, by the way, before getting into sampradaya, there is like lot of authentic things in Vedas, right? I mean, for example, if you have not heard, for example, Gautam Buddha was predicted in Srimad Bhagavat. Okay, when I say predicted, Srimad Bhagavat actually was written some 5,000 plus years old, and Gautam Buddha came way after that. And Srimad Bhagavad talks about Gautam Buddha in future tense, that there will be a person like this in this city, this will be the name of the father and mother and things like that. Okay, so he was predicted and it turned out to be true. Chanakya was predicted in Srimad Bhagavat, or even Ashoka was predicted, right? Even, by the way, Jesus Christ and Prophet Muhammad were also predicted in Bhavishya Puran. They are predicted in Bhavishya Puran. Okay. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I don't know if you have heard about it. Maybe you have heard about great saints of India, right? Sometime Mirabai, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sant Tukaram, and things like that. So he was also predicted in Mahabharata, in Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so many people so Vedas just don't know the knowledge of the current time, their time, but also the knowledge of the past and future as well, right? Now, okay, there are some interesting videos, but I can maybe share. Maybe we'll see if I can share. But the question could be that, oh, why, if that is so true, right? Why do we think that they are mythology? Do you know the word mythology means mithya? Okay, myth. It means not real. So if it is so true, then why do people don't trust Vedas anymore? Has any questions so far? Yes, please go ahead.
क्योंकि लोगों को नॉलेज नहीं है.
No, it's more than that. But yeah, right.
Yeah, so the question which I have is, again, I keep asking questions which I get asked, and like these Vedas, we say that yes, these are age old, and as you said, these were written 5,000 years ago. So we were not there 5,000 years ago. So how do we prove that authenticity? Yes, this is a 5,000-year-old book. How do we claim that? Because now it has been passed on in the disciplic succession. Yes, and now we have the books which is of this age. So how do we claim that?
Yeah, we can prove it by many ways, by the way. Like, for example, Ramanujacharya wrote a version of Bhagavad Gita. And Ramanujacharya, everybody knows, happened somewhere like 1,000+ years old back, right? And if you read that Bhagavad Gita, it has the same shlokas as it is right now, the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Okay, the same shlokas are there. Okay, so that proves that, oh, at least it was 1,000 years old. If you actually go back more, you would find that, oh, a lot of other scriptures which are more thousand. I mean, you find the versions of those scriptures which are more older, and they have the same shlokas, and that has been found, by the way. I mean, it is not a rocket science that these people were real. That these great acharyas of sampradayas, they were real and they are historical the people. Like, for example, even it is proved now that Mahabharata was real, right? Because people have found that city of Dwarka, and they have found some things. I mean, I can share a YouTube video if you want. When it was digged, I think some Professor Rao, somebody, and he actually gives a commentary on YouTube, and he says that actually they found a seal, and that seal is very interesting because they said that this seal actually it is documented in Srimad Bhagavat, and that seal was the same seal which has an elephant on top of it, and it was like an entry pass, and without that you cannot enter that city. And they found that exact same seal there, okay, as documented in Srimad Bhagavat. So these are not mythology, but they are histories. Okay, they are historical events which really happened, and there were real persons around with the same name and things like that. Last week I was taking this same session for some people, just to tell you, to share it with you, for some students in IIT Mumbai and IIT Delhi, I think. Yeah, and they asked me this question: oh, how can I believe that Ramayana is real? Okay. Because maybe somebody just propagated it like that. I mean, just to add a flavor to this question also, right? Because maybe somebody just created this just to push some theories around us in our mind, right? In fact, it is interesting if you actually figure out the person called Valmiki happened some thousands of years back. What was he going to gain by pushing a theory in your mind after thousands of years, right? There's nothing that he was supposed to gain. By material calculation, these people were like, didn't have enough money. They were not bothered about this world anyways, right? And very interesting thing about Ramayana is that how can that person sitting somewhere in the North India knew that there is an island down south, okay, with the name Lanka, and which actually has a sea in between, and the path that is mentioned from Nepal till the Lanka is absolutely accurate, right? All the places that he documented sitting somewhere And just be clear, at his time there was no internet, there was no aeroplanes, right? There were no people roaming around telling him about Nepal and Sri Lanka, right? It was not easy to do those things, right? He was sitting somewhere in a jungle or doing something like that, right? So how can he be so accurate in his description? It is only possible because he was getting it from a disciplic succession. He was being told by somebody that this is the historical event and this is what it is, right? So uh, does it make sense? But it can be scientifically proven. I mean, if you want to actually discuss more about like how can we answer these questions, I can discuss more in detail. In the lack of time, will not be able to do it, but there are many proofs that can be given if somebody really needs a proof. Okay. In a systematic.
Sure, I will offline connect with you.
Sure. Yep, sure. I'll be able to give proofs for all of this, what I'm saying. So, okay, the point, coming to the point, how can we actually, why we started thinking that this is a mythology? Okay, so just go back. I mean, if you Google for these people like Max Muller, I don't know how many of you know a person called Max Muller, right? I mean, all the Vedas that we actually read in English and things like that, all of them, most of them have been translated by these people. Okay, so Max Muller was a person who actually, and if you read his quotes, he claimed he wanted that he thought that Vedas are really primitive knowledge. Okay, and this is the feeling he had, and he learned Sanskrit, and the reason he was doing it is because he wanted people to convert into Christianity. He wanted that people actually get away from their culture so that they can be converted into Christianity. And for that, he translated Vedas in whatever way he could understand. His Sanskrit, of course, how can you imagine a person just coming and learning Sanskrit in a year? The Sanskrit is not supposed to be language like that. It should take, if you actually understand, it should take somewhere like 16 years at least to be able to understand the context, to be able to translate the context. This is what a proper grammarian in Sanskrit will tell you. Okay, so that is what he did, and he started translating all the books, all the Vedas and this and that, and misinterpreted, and whatever meanings he could attach to it, he did that. Also read about. So there are many people, like all at that time, all those people, they had few agendas. One, to convert people to Christianity. Second, to actually divide these people. Okay, so the theory of Aryan invasion theory actually came around that time, where they wanted to divide people to north and south and things like that, right? That they were Aryans who came, and those theory actually right now proven to be defeated. I mean, like it is proven that it is a wrong theory. It is not the right theory. I mean, there are so many evidences around it. Okay, but unfortunately, we are still being taught the same theory, and we believe that Aryan invasion theory is true, and we think that I mean, so many things we think about, right? About our books, we think like that. I can share this video. I will not be able to play it because of the lack of time, but the point is that these Indologists, they actually wanted to, I mean, just think about it. How many, I mean, even in current history books, how many times you read about the great kingdoms that were there in the past, right? You read about, I mean, like the great Hindu kings, about them. How many times you get to read about them, even after so many years of independence, right? So the history that we are taught is not the right thing, but it is all agenda based that we hear, and that's what we are being taught, right? I don't want to get too deep into this subject because, but just to give you a glimpse of it, if you want to read more, as I said, just read about these people. I can share the names also in the chat if you want.
Yeah, so actually, with this knowledge, it becomes so scary. Like, we were taught, and now we don't want our kids to learn all this.
Yeah.
So it's so very scary because to stay in this age.
Yeah, that's true. These are unfortunate times, and that is why we have to, and we can only do this if we actually are connected to the right sampradayas, and then only we can get the right knowledge. I mean, that is pretty much the only way out. Arti ji, you have your hand raised.
No, I had basically raised my hand to answer the question that you had asked.
Oh,
That why people started believing in, I think under especially under British rule, they actually destroyed our scriptures and all, because education was something, I think Indians were the most educated of the lots, because I mean, this was the, I think, birthplace of Sanskrit,
Yep.
the language. So I think that's why, and they wanted to just put in their education system.
Yeah.
They actually wanted us to value their education system,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
why
Right.
they
That's
do
what.
what
That's
they
what.
did.
Correct. Yeah, and they had
Now,
an agenda, as I said. They wanted to divide us. They wanted to convert us, and things like that. They did it very systematically. When we had the Muslim invasion, what they tried to do is actually conquer us by force, and that was difficult because we kind of became more like, no, no, we want to protect our religion. But what Britishers did was like, there is a quote that somebody said. One of the Britishers, he said that, we want that Indians who are actually Indian by color, but British by their taste. Okay, by the way they dress and by the way they comb their hairs and things like that, by their taste and what they want to eat, we want such people. And this is what we have become by the way right now. Right? I mean, if you say I'm right now wearing a dhoti and kurta and tilak and things like that, that is not a natural thing. I mean, yesterday I went out with a tilak somewhere, and one person in the lift asked me, is there something special? Is there a puja happening? Okay, I said no, nothing, no puja. So he said, then, oh, why this tilak? I said, that's natural. Every day I do that. So he was like, I mean, it was not the normal thing for him. So I'm saying like, what is normal is like, of course, you should have jeans and things like that, and that looks normal. So we are Indians like that. We don't value our culture that much anymore. I mean, right? So that's unfortunate. So okay, now just moving on. There are so many things to discuss, and we can discuss this actually. So, anyways, okay. Yeah. In fact, people say that these scriptures, or like, the spirituality is more like a emotional topic, but actually science is more rational, like practical thing, right? I mean, you can see the proof, but in fact, as I said last time, maybe is that both science and spirituality are based on beliefs. Okay, based on certain assumptions. Okay, like for example, in spirituality, we make an assumption that you are a soul, and then we prove it, and you are able to experience it, and then we believe in it, and we go further. In science, you assume that there is a I called square root of -1, and there is practically you cannot make a square root of -1, but you assume that there is I, and then you are able to solve some equation. So both are based on something which is called axioms, right? Like Heisenberg uncertainty principle, law of thermodynamics. You cannot actually experience any of that, but you can just understand that, okay, let's assume this and do it. So it's all actually both are based on the similar model, that you create a theory, you do experimentation, and then you reach to a conclusion. And similarly for spirituality also. I mean, if you follow spirituality, you will actually you'll be taught or understanding, you'll be able to experience it, and it is repeatable. Everybody is able to experience the same thing, and then you move further. Okay, and that's how spirituality also works. So, okay, the question would be, what are those institutions, right? The sampradayas. So, Padma Puran, in fact, talks about those sampradayas. Padma Puran has a verse which says, Sampradaya vihinaya mantraste nishphala mata yata kale bhavishyanti chatvaram sampradayina. It says that only 4 sampradayas are going to be there in the Kali Yuga. Okay, and it talks about the name of those sampradayas in Padma Puran. So, first sampradaya is called Sri Sampradaya. I don't know if you have ever heard this name. So basically what happened is that God gave the knowledge to some people, and who gave it in turn to their disciples and their disciples. So the first one is the Sri Sampradaya. Sri means Lakshmi Devi. So from there, the Sri Sampradaya came. I don't know if you have heard this name, but it's a very famous, very big Sampradaya, right? Lot of big temples in South India are actually built and maintained by Sri Sampradaya. You might have seen their tilak. The tilak is like, a circle, and then there is a red line in between, right? And that is the tilak of Sri Sampradaya. Okay, and they have their prominent acharyas. The second one is called Brahma Sampradaya. Brahma Sampradaya, which comes from Brahmaji, and then there are some acharyas in it. The third one is called Rudra Sampradaya, which is coming from Shankarji, and the fourth one is called Kumar Sampradaya, which is coming from 4 Kumaras called Sanak, Sanandan, Sanatan, and Sanat Kumar. So all of these are like great personalities, and from there they had great acharyas. Like in Sri Sampradaya, there is an acharya called Ramanujacharya, a very famous acharya. Brahma Sampradaya has Madhvacharya, Rudra Sampradaya, Vishnu Swami, and Kumar Sampradaya, Nimbarak Acharya. So Nimbarak Swami. So these four are like, prominent acharyas of these sampradayas, and then they had their disciples and their disciples and their disciples till now. All of them are real sampradayas even now. Okay, and they are supposed to be, as per scriptures, the authentic schools of thoughts. So anybody can actually go to any of them and get the absolute knowledge. I mean, the right knowledge, which is actually coming from God Himself. Okay. Does it make sense? That
No, it doesn't make sense.
Why not?
So these are institutions, as in
Yes.
physical institutions?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So this Brahma is Brahm Samaj?
No. I didn't say Brahma Samaj. I said Brahmaji. Do you know Brahma? Brahma, the creator?
Yeah. But are these physical institutions is what I'm asking. Because
So by physical institution, see, the Vedic way of learning is like this. So, for example, the Sri Sampradaya, their head office or their head quarter is in a place called Srirangam. Srirangam is a small town in Tamil Nadu. Okay. If you go there, you will see small kids reciting Vedic hymns. Okay. Just wearing a dhoti and some kind of thing, and having a shikha, and they are reciting Vedic and they are remembering, and you can see them in the morning. You just walk in that street and you will be able to hear them, okay, all over the place. And that's how they learn. Okay. And then when they grow up, they teach it to their disciples. And this is so similarly Madhvacharya, like the Brahma Sampradaya, the headquarter is in a place called Udupi, okay, in the south, right? And actually Udupi, the temple Udupi Krishna, if you have heard, is established by Madhvacharya, and you can right now also find the acharyas, great acharyas in that sampradaya. You can go visit that place and be able to understand from them. Okay, these are not like that. And by the way, yeah, so that's what it is. Does it make sense? So Brahma Samaj and all, I'm not talking about that. I'm only talking about authentic sampradayas, which are actually coming from God Himself, not man-made institutions.
so I didn't understand. So will they enroll anyone?
It's not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is not easy. By the way, so like if you go to, but it is possible. So I'm not, as I said, I'm not propagating any specific sampradaya here in this slide. All I'm saying is that these are valid institutions, right? And they know the truth. But if you are able to, I went to Sri Ranga myself, but the people, everybody there knew Tamil. I mean, they only talk Tamil. Okay. So you cannot pretty much talk to them and understand things from them. I personally, I was able to understand few things because I had a person with me who knew Tamil and English both. Okay. So he used to translate a bit for me. So I could understand whatever I could from that place. But there are ways. I mean, like there are institutions, for example, I'm associated to something called as ISKCON, and ISKCON is part of Brahma Sampradaya. Okay. So all the teaching from Brahma Sampradaya is what we carry forward. And that's what we talk about. So that way, and the good thing here, at least for me, is that I'm able to understand English and Hindi, and they talk in the same language that I can. So it's very more easily understandable by me. But all these are valid sampradayas. There are no issues in any of them, pretty much, following any of them. Okay.
So
These are authentic. Sorry?
So Rudra Sampradaya is based on, like as you were mentioning, Sri Rangam for Sri Sampradaya, Udupi for Brahma. For Rudra, what is it?
So Rudra Sampradaya, basically Vishnu Swami, it's not very prominent anymore, actually. I mean, Kumar Sampradaya, you'll be able to find them in the northern part of country. Rudra Sampradaya specifically is not very prominent, but it is prominent. So Vishnu Swami himself, I mean, just for your sake, I'm telling you, Vishnu Swami himself came to this world twice came and to propagate the Sampradaya. The Sampradaya, and then later came a great Acharya called Vallabhacharya in that Sampradaya. Okay. And Vallabhacharya is the person we have heard about him, right? The Laddu Gopal, so many people worship them, and that is coming from that Sampradaya, right? So that is the one. Yeah. So all of them are, I mean, in fact, Miguel, someday when we meet, I have a book on this, a very nice book on this Sampradayas, a rare book. I can share that with you. It talks very, very, very in detail about it. Any of you, but whenever we meet. So essentially, the point remains the same, that yes, all of them are authentic. They are not like man-made sampradayas. Somebody just sprang up and said, "Oh, I am a guru, and I know everything," and things like that. I don't claim everything, right? Whatever I know is actually just because of whatever I have been taught, and I've spent years and I've heard bad things from my guru and things like that, like whatever you can imagine, all sort of things, right? And then only I learned. That's how I learned, and that's how people learn, and then they are able to, and it's only possible. I mean, like I just didn't started just teaching this when I'm actually asked by them that, like, okay, you can go ahead, talk about things, and that's why I'm talking about it. So that's how the sampradayas work. This is how it's been working for ages. Okay. And it is supposed to be, and whatever I'm saying is authentic only till the time I'm repeating what is being taught to me. Okay. And that's why I don't shy away from taking help from scriptures. Okay. Like whatever I'm saying, I can give basis of scriptures. If you want to know, oh, these 4 people, how are they prominent? How is this sampradaya prominent? Why are only there 4 sampradaya? I can tell you that verse right now from the Padma Puran. Right now, I can tell you the complete verse. I just quoted a partial verse out of it. Right. Now, it takes the name of these people. It takes the name of Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Vishnu Swami, Nimbarak Swami in the Padma Puran. Okay. So it's authentic, whatever I'm saying. Does it make sense? Or fairy tales? But as I said, if you believe that
You are the authority for us.
Okay, if you trust that, thank you. But yeah, but I can as I said, right, scriptures are the authority, because there is no other way to learn. What else is the way? I mean, Shabda Praman is the only way. We talked about it for hour at least, right? If that is the authority, then yeah, this is what it is. Artiji, your point, anything, any thoughts?
No, I am just feeling that it seems quite deep, and I mean, I had no idea about this at all.
Yeah, yes, that's what why we are here. I mean,
That's an
that's why we are
irony.
talking.
I mean, it's really sad that we do not know. I mean, these institutions, they exist, and they exist in India, and we are totally unaware of it.
It is real. These institutions are real. I mean, for example, I'm telling you about, like, the branch of Brahm Sampradaya that I belong to. You go to a place called Mayapur, which is a small village sort of, okay, in West Bengal. Okay. And you go in the morning at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. in the night, you will see that small kids, okay, of all part of the world, they will be wearing the dhoti and the tilak, and they're walking barefoot. Okay. And it might be like, maybe less than 10 degrees in the night, something like that. Okay. That kind of a thing, and they're reciting, and they get up in the morning, and they do the yagyas in the morning, and they will have their deities that they will worship, and then they will go to the farm, and they will cultivate the things, and they'll cut the things and make their own meal and eat it and things like that, and then they will also learn martial arts and stuff like that. Okay, so that is the culture, that is the Vedic culture, and that is real right now, by the way. Okay, just that yeah, unfortunate. Yeah, because we are not, and the reason why it is like this is because we are not taught systematically. What we have been taught is that whatever we have heard, we think that, oh, if I want to become an engineer, I will actually go to a college and learn. But what we think is that if I want to become a spiritualist, whatever I've heard from my dadi, nani, or from somebody in the train when I'm sitting, or some panwala or something like that, and I will hear from them and I will become a spiritualist. No, it's not that easy. It is as scientific as anything else. Otherwise, I mean, at least I've spent years every day trying to understand this. It takes time. It is not easy. The intelligence, the scriptures say that the intelligence given to you is to learn these truths. Okay, not to spend them just watching YouTube videos or playing PUBG or things like that. Right. So let's spend the right for the right purpose. So anyways, so much for the sampradayas. I can just go further. Yeah. So the way it happened is that as per Srimad Bhagavad, the first canto, first verse, like the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam says, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavye. It's a bigger verse, but basically what it means is that the knowledge was revealed in the heart of Brahma by the Supreme God. Okay, that is how the knowledge was revealed. Okay, and then Brahma had a disciplic succession. Where Narad was the disciple of Brahma, and then came great acharyas, and that's how this knowledge came to us the way we know it, right? And that's how the knowledge kept on passing. And similarly for Sri Sampradaya, or for any other sampradaya, right? So that's how the knowledge has come to us. So yeah.
So,
At one
Prabhuji, in
point,
all the four sampradayas, they tell who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the same.
yes, all of them talk about depending on what level of truth they understand, is like Lakshmi Narayan, Sitaram, Radha Krishna, depending on different levels they understand.
So, in Rudra Sampradaya also.
Yes, all of them. Correct. Okay, so at one point of time, like 5,000 years back, you were saying, right, that earlier humans used to be small. In fact, it is the other way around. Actually, there are proofs that humans used to be bigger at one point. Okay, in the past. I don't know if you have ever seen Maharana Pratap's sword or whatever, and things like that, right? I mean, it says that humans were way powerful at in the past ages, but later, as per Srimad Bhagavad, at a later point of time, our strength started reducing, and so does our memory also started reducing. And Vedvyas, when he realized that, oh, the memory of the people are reducing, earlier people used to be called Shrutidhars. Shrutidhar meaning, if I just say that, they used to remember. Okay, so the Guru just used to recite the verse, and the Shishya will actually just remember it. But later they realized, no, it's not possible, it's not working out. So Vedvyas actually documented all of that. All the Vedas that, as we know, have been documented by Vedvyas, including all the Puranas and many other scriptures. So and just for the benefit of people of Kali Yuga. Okay, and that's how we got the scriptures, right? So 5,000 years back, actually not Vedas didn't came 5,000 years back, but they were recorded 5,000 years back, and that is what it is. Okay. All right. So just this slide. It's a big slide, but actually, if you're interested, I can actually go as detailed as you want in any of the branches. But just high level, Vedas actually classify into something called as Shruti and Smriti. Okay, Shruti is something which directly comes from God. Okay, which is heard. It's called Shruti. Okay, and Smriti is what sages wrote based on their memory, and that's called Smriti. So in the Shruti part, the Vedas, as we know, we call everything is Veda, by the way, that way, because Veda means knowledge. So all of this is knowledge. But the traditional Vedas, as we know, the Rig, Yajur, Sam, and Atharva Ved, and the Upaved and Vedangas. Within Vedas, there are Brahmanakas and Aranyakas and things like that. I can go into detail. Upanishads are there, which are very interesting. All of them fall under Shruti, which actually comes from direct hearing. And then there are Smritis on the right side, which have things like Tantras, Puranas, Panchratras, Itihas, Darshan. As I said, right, philosophy in Hindi, in Sanskrit, is called Darshan, right? And the Darshan means to see. So how do you see, right? How do you see spiritual world? So the only way to see is through philosophy. Okay, because you hear and you see. You are able to see it, you'll be able to perceive it, but not through these eyes. It is not possible. Okay, but you'll be able to perceive it actually through scriptures, and that is why these scriptures are very important. So these Shat Darshans are, I mean, I don't want to go into detail, but just to tell you, the total number of known scriptures are like 1 lakh verses. Okay, which is not possible to read in this human life, of course, because our lives have reduced. So it is not possible. So there is something which is interesting, which is called Bhagavad Gita. Now, Bhagavad Gita neither falls into Shruti nor Smriti. It is Smriti because it is part of an Itihas called Mahabharata. But at the same time, it is Shruti because their God is directly speaking. In fact, it is classified under Upanishad called Gita Upanishad. Okay, that actually is supposed to be the crux of the whole Vedic knowledge, as Shankaracharya himself confirms. I mean, like, many acharyas have confirmed that Bhagavad Gita itself is good enough to begin with. But anyways, this is the entire picture of the whole thing. If you want to go deeper on any of this, what is Aranyakas, what are Darshan, what is called Mimamsa, Upanishad, what is Upanishad, Nirukti, what is that? Anything I can go deeper and talk about it. But anyways, just to yeah, it'll take time. It'll take an entire night to talk about it. Maybe that will not be enough. So yeah. Okay. Does it make sense so far? Okay. Everybody is quiet.
Yes, yes, it is.
It's
Yes,
an
it
eye
is.
opener.
Okay, great. All right. Yeah. So just talking about ISKCON a bit, this is His Srila Prabhupada, who is actually the founder of ISKCON. Although ISKCON is just a name, but it actually, as I said, is part of Brahma Sampradaya, and it was all the way coming from Brahma Sampradaya. His guru of Prabhupada, he asked him to go to West and translate the books in English language so that the Westerners can be taught, and that's how ISKCON was born. That was the only impetus for ISKCON to be there. Otherwise, it's part of Brahma Sampradaya. So whatever we know, whatever I receive is part of the Brahma Sampradaya chain. That's how it is all about, right? Yeah. So just concluding, the way for these blind men to understand is that if there would have been a person with the eye, right? If he would have been there, then he could have told them that this is an elephant, right? Because he has seen the truth. So he would have told the full truth to them, right? And that is an easiest way to gain the knowledge, right? That, oh, we approach the person who has actually seen the truth, and he tells us what is the truth, and then you can also experience it. So as you are saying, right, I don't want to make it a mythology. Mythology is a very bad word. Okay, a session where the fantastic things are talked about. Otherwise, yes, once you actually hear the truth, you will be able to experience it in your life. Okay, you'll be able to actually see that these are not theory. You'll be able to really see these things and experience them, and then only be able to pass it on. And that's how it works. So, but before doing that, you have to know what is the truth, right? Because suppose if Narendra Modi is sitting in front of me and I don't know anything about him, right? Then I will not be able to experience him, right? That is why it is called darshan. Now, if somebody comes and tells me, oh, he's Narendra Modi, he's the prime minister of our country, and all sort of things, then really I will be able to see him, because then I will know his glories, right? So to know, even to do that, you need to actually go through the spirituality to understand this philosophy, and then only you'll be able to experience God. Okay. I mean, if you think, RTG, that this is magical, actually there are so many magical things around in spirituality, that you'll be wow. Okay. Wait till the day we talk about spiritual world someday and a variety of things. I mean, like, hold on. Okay. There are so many things to talk about. Yeah.
I mean, the first thing that I'm going to Google about after this class is about those 4 sampradayas.
You can do that. Yep, you can do that.
I'm really
I mean,
interested about, yeah.
Yes. You can do that. I can tell more about them. They are real. I mean, they and it's as per Padma Puran. I mean, I can share the verse also. Now, if you want, I can right now recite that verse if you want to remember it. So the verse is simple. It just says that sampradaya vihinaya mantraste nishpala mata. What it means is that without sampradaya vihin, a person who is not in a sampradaya, mantraste nishpala mata. It means, like, even if you know the mantra, it will not work for you. The mantras will not work if you are not part of a sampradaya. Ata kalau bhavishyanti chatvara sampradayina. And that is why in the Kali Yuga there are 4 sampradayas only. Okay. And it says that the next 2 lines are interesting. Ramanujam Sri Swikare. It says Ramanujacharya was actually accepted by Sri, means Lakshmi Devi, accepted Ramanujacharya as the disciple. Madhvacharyam Chaturmukha. In Chaturmukha, the Brahma, he accepted Madhvacharya. Okay. And then it says, Sri Vishnu Swami Nam Rudro. It means Rudra accepted Vishnu Swami as the disciple. Nimbadityam Chatush Jana. It says the Chatush Kumar actually accepted Nimbaditya, means Nimbarakacharya, as the disciple. So it gives the name of the disciples, and it also gives the name of the deity who actually started this sampradaya. Yes, Anukriti, tell me.
Okay, so this might sound very lame, but I just wanna ask you कि ये जो सारे श्लोकास आपको याद हैं, तो ये आपने बहुत बार पढ़ा है, इसलिए आपको याद हो गए, या did you learn it by heart?
नहीं,
I mean, I know that's lame, but I'm just curious.
It's not lame. See, actually, so as I told you, right, earlier people used to be Shrutidhars. They used to remember the shlokas as they hear them. Okay, we are not that smart, for sure. But if you hear them enough for a long time, you will be able to remember it. Don't worry. It takes some patience. And personally, to talk about myself, I actually have some passion of learning these shlokas. Okay, so when I used to hear this kind of shloka, I used to take notes. Okay, or that this shloka is there. I used to ask, oh, which shloka from where, and then I used to note it down in my mobile phone. Okay, and then browse through them. I still have those shlokas from long back in my mobile phones. Some interesting ones that I found interesting. Okay, and these are magical. Like, just talk about Padma Puran. or some scripture is talking about the name of Ramanujacharya and these people who are actually historical people. I mean, if you go to Srirangam, you'll actually see the body of Ramanujacharya kept there right now. It is kept like that. People say that ancient, I mean, these Egyptians knew the mummification and things like that. That Ramanujacharya is sitting in this pose right now, okay, in a body properly, and his eyes you can see
Samadhi.
glowing. Not even samadhi, he's just
Not
sitting like that.
samadhi.
Yeah, the entire body is sitting like that. Correct. Not, and it is not preserved with by putting some kind of clothes or anything. Okay, the live body is sitting. The eyes can be seen; they are glowing and all sort of things. And it is 1,000+ years uh, which have passed. And this is real.
पर
I've seen it through
डीके
my eyes.
कैसे नहीं हुआ?
That's,
डिकम्पोज कैसे नहीं हुआ?
yep, that's what I'm saying, right? I mean, there are many Vedic things that we don't understand fully. I mean, it's a magical world out there also. We should give it a shot for sure.
Yes,
I mean, this is a
right.
real, you can Google for it also if you want to. No issues. I've seen it through my eyes, so I trust. Yeah. The magical temple that Srirangam anyways is. But
No, I
yeah,
trust
So have
you.
any
I trust
scientists
you.
reached out there, Prabhuji? Any scientists have researched on this? No,
I don't know. I don't know that.
they won't allow, right?
Yeah, maybe that. But it's a real thing preserved. Ramanujacharya himself. There's a story around it. Like his body actually came out. I mean, so Ranganath Swami, he there was like some sound which came in the temple, and his body was actually buried at one point, and there was a sound like come out and things, and he came out like that with his body, and he was sitting there like that, and they built a small temple in front of Ranganath Swami's temple. There's a small temple where that body is kept, and they show it very in a very nice way. I mean, they have these lamps, and they will just take it in front of those things and show you the eyes and those things. Very beautiful temple, very beautiful temple, Srirangam. So yeah. So Rangam means like dancing place, and Shri means Lakshmi Devi. So it's a place where Lakshmi Devi dances in front of God. And that's what that temple is. Yeah, very wonderful temple. But anyways, someday I'll talk in detail about it. But yeah, does it make sense? Any questions? So we are done more or less, at least from the slides part. I think so. Summary I will anyways share. Any thoughts? Anything? Does it make sense? Doesn't make sense?
आप अपना experience बताइए please.
क्या experience?
Like
What
when you
experience?
had that, आपने like मैंने जो आपसे शुरू में पूछा था कि when you had that experience, you saw all those heavenly bodies, all
So
those.
you can
I mean,
only
I shouldn't say heavenly bodies.
see through,
Maybe.
through your ears. Okay, these Vedas are called Shrutis. Shruti means Sunna. Okay, because you don't see through your eyes, but you see through your ears. Okay, and actually, I mean, if I actually, I can show it to you right now also. I mean, if you have time, I can show it to you the spiritual world right now. Okay, and it's very magical. I don't know. Do you want to see
Ha,
it?
we have time. I mean,
Yeah,
I have
Madhur,
time. I don't.
we are all in.
Okay.
Yes, of course.
Okay, let me try. uh, it will take some time to show you, but okay, if you are interested in spiritual world only, let me find the spiritual world. Where is that? Yeah. um, okay, let me project something else then.
Prabhuji, I think you're not audible anymore.
Yeah, because I was on mute, so I disconnected myself instead of projecting. Oh, unfortunate thing is that I'm on a version of Windows which is unreleased in the market. Uh, so there is some issue, and I'm not able to open the thing that I'm trying to open. Unfortunately, why it's not opening? Let me see. Let me try in some other thing. Now, that's all technical issues that you get into in this world. Okay. Now, then it's not working properly for me. Okay, yeah. But till then, if you have any other questions, let me. I'll keep. I'm trying to open it till then. Some weird app I'm able to open. Okay. Okay, let me project and we'll see if you are able to see it. It's a very, very heavy image. As you can imagine, spiritual world is not a small thing. Oh, okay. Yeah. Are you able to see it? Something? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prabhuji.
Yes, we are
Okay.
able to see something.
Okay. So, let us. And let me explain how it looks like. So we are here, by the way. Like there is something called as we are here. As you can see, 7 number, as you see, right? There is something called as 7, called Earth, right? This is where we
Yes.
are. Okay, and this is where human beings live. And there, apart from it, there are more things in this world. Something called as Atal, Vital, Sutal, Talatal, Mahatal, Rasatal, Patal. Okay, these are the different locals in this world. Okay, and then if you go up, then there are more things there. There is something called as Satyalok, Taplok, Janlok, Maharlok, Swarglok, Bhurlok. So basically, these are other things. In total, they are 14. Okay, and these 14 things actually form, and within this, there are interesting entities. There is um, a Vishnu, a form of Vishnu, which is called Garbhodakshay Vishnu, okay, and Shirodakshay Vishnu, two of them. They also live in this part, okay. And whatever I'm saying, any single line can be verified through scriptures, okay. And there is a level, and from where Brahmaji comes out, and things like that. You must have heard this part, right? I'm not able to zoom out and things. This is very problematic, actually. I'm trying to do it in Word, in Paint, and Paint is not very good place for this. So basically, this whole thing uh, is called one universe. Okay, whatever you're seeing is just one universe. All these 14 things, they fall into something called as one universe. This entire circle that you see is actually one universe. Okay, and this is not the only universe. As per scriptures, there are innumerable universes. All these golden circles that you see, they all are like, innumerable universes here, which are coming out from the pores of a person who's called Mahavishnu. Okay, and Mahavishnu means uh, he has another name which is called Karno Dakshay Vishnu. So it's all of it is coming from somebody called Karno Dakshay Vishnu. All these golden things that are coming out, and each of them are coming out from there. Okay, uh, is it clear so far? हेलो.
नरेंद्र जी, क्या आप ये फोटो हम सबको भेज सकते हैं?
No, you will not be able to comprehend
ये
basically. Are you able to see? Let me explain first. Right.
yes,
So
we
all
can
these
see.
yeah, all these universes are actually coming from the pores. Like when he breathes out, when the Karno Dakshay Vishnu breathes out, universes come out. Okay, and in each universes there are like innumerable planets. Okay, and each of them have their own brahmas, and each of them have their own various other things. And when he breathes in, these universes go in to the belly of this person, and this is what is going on. And okay, so far clear. So now this whole thing is actually not enough. This is only 1/4 of the overall creation, and there are innumerous universes. Now there are 3/4 creation more. Now that 3/4 part of it is called spiritual world. You might have heard something called as Vaikuntha. So that is the 3/4 part of this whole creation. Okay, called in Sanskrit Tripad Vibhuti. So that part is more magical. Okay, so we go up a bit. This is a huge picture actually, and that is why it is not loading in any of my apps. And I am on Windows 11, which is unreleased and things like that. So facing some teething troubles here. Okay, yeah, let me go up. It's very painful. Yeah. So then there is something called, there is a junction, right? That you see, this junction is the place where the material world and spiritual world boundaries. And then there is lot of light here, right on the top section, and that light is called Brahma Jyoti. You must have heard Brahma, right? So that area is the Brahman part of it. And if you go further up, then higher than that, then apart from that, we enter something called as spiritual world. And the spiritual world has interesting things. There are many lokas where different forms of Vishnu are there, like various forms that you can think of, Narsimha, Varaha, okay, and they all have Govinda, Vaman, they all have their own planets where they live. It is not like, people think that, oh, they came and they merged into something. Not like that. They are real persons who actually live in a place of different names. Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and things like that. Then if you go further deep, you will see a place which is like, let me go up, and then I will be able to talk about it. Yeah. So essentially there will be a place which is called Ayodhya, called Saket. All that will be there where Sitaram will be there. There are these places where Lakshmi Narayan and different form of these deities are there. Yeah, this is Ayodhya as you keep going further. And this is just a layman explanation of the whole thing. It is way bigger than that. And then you go up, you will see Sankarshan, and you go up and you will see Golok Vrindavan, which is where Radha Krishna lives. And in a different, there are many other planets there where different forms of them also live. In a baby-like form, in a youth-like form, as a king, as variety of things. Just a high-level description. This app is not very good. Otherwise, it is fun watching this. But the point I'm making is that this is how the spiritual and material world is organized. Now, in the material world, coming back, there are some entities like Brahma, like other Devtas and Devis that we hear about. They all are within this universe. Okay. People who are within this universe, they get back to Mahavishnu's belly as the universe is destroyed. But then the persons who are in the spiritual world, they are eternal. They do not get destroyed. And all of them are like that. Okay. Does it make sense?
It seems a lot profound than our current, at least my current level of intelligence.
Yes. Yes, and it is more profound than
I'm
what I
just
have explained.
listening to it, and maybe as you
It is,
take us through the journey, we will be able to relate to it.
yes,
I will be able to relate to it or
yes.
get closer
It is
to.
more profound than what I have explained so far. And whatever I'm saying, by the way, like बोलते हैं ना कि मैं गीता पे हाथ रख के कसम खाता हूँ. So that I can tell you that whatever I'm saying, I can quote verses for this, all of this. Okay, none of this is made up story. All of them are real stuff. Yes,
Yeah, but
Anukriti ji.
hopefully you can relate to our current level, my current level of ignorance. That
Yes. I'm not saying that that you have to digest all of this, but I'm just trying to tell you that it is more bigger than what we can imagine. Okay, the universe that we are in is not the only universe. There are multiple different type of entities which live in this universe, different forms of Vishnus which live in this world. There are different other entities which live. Okay, humans are not the only beings which are there, and then this universe is very small part of this whole creation. Yes, Anukriti ji, you have a hand raised.
So there are theories which says यूनिवर्स के डिफरेंट लेयर्स हैं. देयर इज दिस फिफ्थ डायमेंशन कॉल्ड टाइम, जैसे कि इंटरस्टेलर मूवी में भी दिखाए थे. और मे बी एक अनुकृति यहाँ पे आपसे सेशन ले रही है, तो मे बी दूसरी अनुकृति किसी और लेयर ऑफ यूनिवर्स में कुछ और कर रही होगी एट द सेम टाइम.
It is actually the different universe. Okay, there is something called as multiverse theory, which is being propagated and things like that. So that is there. And the time is not a big thing. In fact, time is mentioned in our scriptures in a very detailed way. For example, it is very clearly mentioned that how to explain you that. Okay, so just to tell you is like Brahma's age is 100 years. Okay, but 100 years actually means 311 trillion years. Okay, and 14 billion years as per Indian, as per Earth time scale.
Earth, हाँ.
Yes. So the time is relative. Even within these different lokas, okay, the planetary systems that are there, the time is relative. And that is what Einstein has found out, and that is existing in the Vedas since forever. That the time is relative for each of them. Right. So all of them experience different time. And as you go up in the spiritual world, the time vanishes. So there is no time pretty much there. Okay. So it's more interesting. But yes, a lot of, I mean, lot of fancy theories that you have heard and things, they may be man-made, but our scriptures have theories which actually have proofs and things like that. Like, these things can be talked about in terms of proofs also. I mean, it is not that there is no proof types. Scientists are finding some things. Maybe they will find these multiple universes, but they cannot find till the spiritual world and all. They are like way beyond the perception, right? It's the things vanish there. I mean, our body is made up of these 7 material things that we talked about at one point: mind, intelligence, and things like that. These different planets within the universe have different of combination of these things. Like, there are planets where only mind is the way the body is constructed, just by using mind and things like that, which you cannot see, which you cannot feel, and things like that, right? You can only hear about them and understand from an authority. So these things go into a realm where our senses stop, right? Our theories also stop, because you cannot even imagine something like this, where only a bona fide authority can tell you what is the truth, right? And that is why we are talking about this. I mean, this whole series of session is supposed to be a 101 of spirituality, where you actually get to know what are the tools using which you can actually explore spirituality. There is no way otherwise. And this world is way magical than you can imagine, I can tell you. I mean,
ओके, तो मतलब अभी तो जैसे आपने बोला कि राधा जी कृष्ण जी हैं दूसरे वर्ल्ड, मतलब दूसरे यूनिवर्स में, दूसरे प्लैनेट में,
नहीं,
तो वो
ऐसा
आए
नहीं
थे
बोला
अर्थ
I
पे?
didn't said that. I didn't
अच्छा,
said that. I
ओके,
said कि there is something called as spiritual world, which is beyond this material world. Okay. ठीक है. So material world meaning multiple universes and all sort of things. Then there is Vaikuntha. Okay. Or Vaikuntha में there are multiple deities. Each of them have their own planets, right? Like Lakshmi Narayan,
ओके,
like Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Vasudev, and things like that. And similarly, there is Ayodhya. There is place where Nasim Dev lives. There is a place where Vaman Dev lives. There is a place where Radha Krishna lives. Okay. And those are spiritual planets. They are not material. There is
ओके,
no time in
ओके,
those places. If they are 16 years, they are 16 years forever. Like that.
ओके, ओके, आई गेट इट.
They are
So
not part of our
this
universe.
description is in the okay, all
Huh.
right. So this description is of spiritual world.
Yes. Yes. That upper part
Okay.
of it is spiritual world. The lower part that I showed is the material world.
तो मटेरियल वर्ल्ड में भी तो आए थे ना राधा जी कृष्ण जी, इन लोग का
हाँ, वो तो
अवतार हुआ था.
करेक्ट करेक्ट आए थे. हाँ, तो
तो
फिर
मतलब स्पिरिचुअल वर्ल्ड भी है अभी भी, वो वापस चले गए ऐसा? यहाँ आए
the
और
way
फिर वापस चले गए?
avatar, do you know what avatar means? Avatar means just descend. Okay, so they come down, they do some leela, and they go back, and then they will go to the next universe. And it is actually calculated. I mean, Srimad Bhagavad explains this, that they come on, like Brahmaji's age is 100 years as per his calculation, right? Brahmaji's calculation. And on the 55th and on each day, on this particular hour of his day, this avatar will come. This is documented. And so they keep on coming, different avatars keep on coming regularly. And when Brahmaji's night comes, this entire universe is like, at least people like us are annihilated. And then when he gets up, he will create it again, this world, for whole day. I mean, the world will be there, and there will be multiple cycles of Satyug, Dwapar, Treta, Kalyug. That will happen 1,000 times in his one day. And once that happens, then he goes back to sleep, and this world is again submerged with water. And then in the morning, he will get up and he will create the universe again. And this happens for his 100 days, 100 years. And after 100 years, this universe is destroyed, and things like that. And this keeps on happening. So we as soul, we keep on going through this cycle of not just birth and death, but also these different cycles of Satyug, Dwapar, Treta, and Kalyug for his whole day. And then in the night, we are again dormant. And then in the morning, we again are given some body. And after 100 years, we go back to the belly of Mahavishnu. and then Mahavishnu breathes out, and we go back to a new universe, and there again this cycle of birth and death starts. Okay, and this is what we have been doing since quite some time. Okay,
तो
but
मतलब हमको जन्म मिलेगा, मतलब पूरी दुनिया, मतलब जब ब्रह्मा जी उठेंगे सो के, फिर वो हमको नई, मतलब हमको नई बॉडी
हाँ,
दे देंगे.
करेक्ट, ये होता रहेगा, तब तक होता रहेगा जब तक कि वी आर नॉट एबल टू गो आउट ऑफ दिस मटेरियल वर्ल्ड. If we are able to
Okay.
go out of this material world, then we go back to the spiritual world where the things are eternal, where there is no time, where everybody is like, has a perfect position and they are happy. Things like that.
तो ये बिल्कुल वैसा नहीं है कि एक किसी को आप कुछ टॉयज दे दो और वो रात में सो जाए, सब समेट के खत्म करके सुबह उठे फिर सब सेटअप बना ली, ये बिल्कुल वैसा है.
Yeah. हाँ,
है
that
ना?
is this particular part of, yes. Yes, Aarti.
Yeah, so I have a question that has this happened? Like, has anyone been to the spiritual world? Has
There are
this
people who have
happened to
seen
somebody
this. I mean, see the
who
people
has come out of this cycle of rebirth and changing, going to different, taking birth in different universes and all that, and now is part of spiritual world? Because the names I see here are mostly deities and gods only, or different
will tell.
avatars.
So see, understand this. 2-3 things I will tell you. First thing is that कि ये जो knowledge है ना, this is coming from sampradaya, okay, which is authentic, which is coming from God Himself, and the acharyas are passing this knowledge. Okay, what you are seeing is a very, very bigger thing to digest at this stage, so it may sound overwhelming, but the point I'm making is that now your question, have somebody gone there, seen it, came back, told me? No, not like that, right? Because with your eyes it is not easy to observe, with your body it is not possible to go, right? We are a soul, right? We as a soul can go there, but even we are not allowed right now, and that's why we are stuck here. So the point is, these things can only be understood, but after a point people have realized this, they were able to experience this also sitting here. It is possible, and there are people who have experienced it sitting here, right? But those are very elevated stages when it is possible, not at our stages. Okay, but the point is, it is like, as I said, right, just think in a simple terms. When you start wearing sleepers and somebody tells you you have to wear the left sleeper on the left leg, at that time you have not experienced it, right? But after a point, as you grow up, you are able to actually understand that, oh, left sleeper is meant to be worn in the left leg and right in the right leg, right? And then you become an authority. So it takes time for you to grow up, right? But first it starts from wearing the sleepers, right? First we have to accept some axioms and go beyond that, and then you'll be able to experience that you are a soul. It's very easy to experience that, by the way, and you'll be able to experience that there is a real God, and you can really experience Him sitting here, and then all these things can be experienced as well similarly. But the point is, and this is the spirituality, this is how the science also works, by the way. So yeah, the name of the deity is okay. Coming to that, yes. So for example, when it says Sankarshan, then this is the planet where Sankarshan is there. Okay, and the devotees of Sankarshan are worshipping him in the way, in the mood in which this deity should be worshipped. Okay, so there are so the traditional understanding is that, oh, these people, they come down and they go back and they get merged into something vacuum, right? And then they come out of that and they come out like that, right? In our movies or TV serial, they show you, right, कि अरे एक light आया and then something, and then it became like a, no, not like that. As per scriptures, they are persons who are living there, and they come down and then they go back, and then next time they will go back to somewhere else, like that. That is the scriptural understanding. Okay, the people who make those serials and movies, they have not read the scriptures, they have no idea about the truth. That's the problem. And this is not a mumbo jumbo I'm making, I'm just as I said, I can give proofs for everything. Yes, Aarti.
Yeah, so basically, my question is that has anyone from Earth, because the material world is divided into 14 lokas or whatever you say.
Yeah, yes.
So anyone from Earth has been part of the spiritual world? Do we have any evidences there? Not, I'm not talking about Krishna, I mean the avatars, because of
So
course they
we are,
were gods, or I
as
mean,
as per scriptures, we all actually were part of spiritual world. I mean, I can tell you the truth, but you will not believe it. Then we cannot do anything. But the point is, all of us were part of spiritual world at one point. Okay, and as per scriptures, we came down to this material world to enjoy, to play like a child want to play with a toy set. We came down.
correct.
Okay, and we are trying to do that right now, and we can go back. And that is what, like you have heard, right? Vaikunt may finally Vaikunt mein chale gaye Bhagwan ke paas, right? That is what this means.
But has anyone been there
You
after
don't come
coming
back.
to it?
You don't come back from there. You only go there.
Yeah. So
Krishna
has
says in,
anyone gone there?
yes, lot of souls go there. Yes, all of them. Lot of people go there. Correct. If you go there once, you don't come back. Swarg is within this material world. Those 14 planetary systems, Swarg is part of it. So you can go to Swarg, but you have to come back. But if you once cross this material world or go to spiritual world, then you don't come back. Okay. Then you
So
go back to your.
of you who has been part of Earth and then they went to the spiritual world.
Yeah. So there are two types of soul, and souls are innumerable. Okay. Innumerable souls divided into two parts. Okay. One is called sadhana siddha soul, and one is called nitya siddha. So sadhana siddha and nitya siddha. So nitya siddha are type of souls which are always in the spiritual world, and there are huge number of them. Okay. They don't come down. They don't have any desire to enjoy and play and things like that. Then there are some souls which are called sadhana siddha, who actually have this desire. Here I want to play, enjoy, whatever. They come down and get stuck here, whatever you call it. But because that place is timeless, it doesn't matter. Because even if you are here for millions of years, when you go back, it is like nothing has happened. You just were sleeping in a night and you had a bad dream and you got up and everything is fine, like that. Okay, so you are here and then you go back. Now, they're talking about people. Scriptures talk about many people. In fact, lot of people who actually went back. Okay, and I can give you their names also, right? The point again, what we have to understand, in the olden times when people used to talk, they used to say ki shastra kaun sa, shastra praman hai. This is what they used to say, right? Because shastrat, when they used to do, they used to talk about shastras. So I'm putting the name of Srimad Bhagavad here. Okay, Srimad Bhagavad gives names of many people who have gone back, right? Does it make sense? Right?
I have
What
a
else? I mean, there is no
question.
other way. I am telling you, this is such a fantastic thing that we are seeing. It cannot be explained by our logic, and we cannot argue based on our eyes and senses. That we talked about for the past 1.5 hours. That the senses are not the right way to learn.
जो मिस्टिक गुरुज हैं, जो स्पिरिचुअल गुरुज हैं, जो ये क्लेम करते हैं कि यहाँ पे बैठे बैठे साधना करके, एक मिनट, तो यहाँ पे बैठे बैठे साधना करके लाइक समाधि में होते हुए वो एक जगह से, वेरी गुड बेटा, तो एक जगह से दूसरी जगह ट्रैवल कर लेते हैं, या मतलब वो बताते हैं कि हमने ऐसे एक्सपीरियंस किया, हमने वो देखा है, तो क्या हम ये बोल सकते हैं कि वो मतलब उनका सोल ट्रैवल कर रहा था, लाइक फ्रॉम हियर टू स्पिरिचुअल वर्ल्ड, देन अगेन
No,
बैक टू
spiritual world
अर्थ?
is not that easy. Spiritual world is not that easy. You can roam around in this material world, that is fine. Spiritual world is not possible. Okay. Material,
तो
so
मतलब
our
वो बस
understand.
ऐवे ही बोलते हैं वो लोग?
No, spiritual world they don't go. You can go to material world. Okay, you can go to different planets here. It is possible, but not to spiritual world. So the point is there are different practices also. There is Ashtanga yoga, there is Dhyan yoga, there is Bhakti yoga, there is Gyan yoga, there is many ways, and different ways give you different type of things, right? So these mystic people, whatever they claim, it is all part of something called as Ashtanga yoga, and you get do lot of siddhis and you are able to do variety of things. That is true, but going to spiritual world is not possible. As per
तो
scriptures, it is
उन्होंने भी
not possible.
मतलब, तो उन्होंने
They
भी
don't claim. They don't
शास्त्र
claim
पढ़
that.
के,
They don't claim that. They don't claim that.
तो मतलब उन्होंने भी शास्त्र वगैरह पढ़े हैं और उसका ही जो नॉलेज उनके पास है वो वही बता रहे कि स्पिरिचुअल वर्ल्ड है।
नहीं see नहीं spiritual world. देखिए again try to understand this. Shastras are not like random books. written by random people, okay, and taught to us. First thing first, first rule of spirituality is that ki shastra jo hai na, they are like the absolute truth coming down, and we have talked for so long about it. There is no other way to learn pretty much, okay. And if we have faith in shastras, if we have faith in a teacher, then the teacher can make you experience this at one point also, okay. These things are like, see, they sound magical, but that is not the point of interest. The point of interest, the question that should come to our mind as a soul or as a person is should be, why am I here, right? How do I get out? Why am I suffering, right? Why is there so much pain in this world? Those should be the real question. That is the practical things for which we need answers for,
पर वो
right?
पर वो क्वेश्चन तो तभी आएगा ना जब आपको इस पे पूरी तरह यकीन हो कि हाँ
आपको
किसी ने एक्सपीरियंस किया है कि
आपको
स्पिरिचुअल वर्ल्ड है, वो
अगर
वहां
आपको
गए, वहां
यकीन
से
ना भी हो,
वापस आए.
अगर आपको यकीन ना भी हो, राइट, तो भी you are in trouble, right? We have talked about it that you are a soul, and we have talked about scientific proofs also for it, right? If we are a soul, if there is a scientific proof for it, then why is this soul suffering here? Is it supposed to suffer throughout? Science don't have any answer for it, right? Then what is the reality? What is it supposed to do? Then the point comes that, okay, let's look towards scriptures. Scriptures do talk about soul already. They talk about many other things also, and they also talk about what the soul is supposed to do, right? So scriptures do give us this answer. There is, like, if we talk about, like, see, RPG, if you are expecting a person who has gone to spiritual world, I will tell you the name and you'll be able to talk to him and figure out is it real or not. No, that is not going to happen. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yad Gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. And my param dham is a place where if you once reach there, you don't come back. So nobody has came back to tell you that, right? It is only scriptures, it is only darshan which can tell you the truth. Okay, but you will be able to experience this. So here is what it is. This is a very fantastic truth. Forget about spiritual world. Forget about any of this what I have told you. But I can tell you one thing. As we progress in this path, like, why am I staying here for years practicing this? Because as I progress, somebody told me that, see, once you do this, you will be able to experience this. This is what scriptures say. This is what my guru told me. And when I moved forward, I was able to experience that. And everybody was also able to.
Nirendra ji has left by mistake, I guess.
Yeah. Prabhuji, you are on mute.
Okay, whenever I enter as mute. Okay, maybe me didn't like the spiritual world slide too much to digest for it, so it crashed. So basically, the point I'm making is, like, because you are able to experience the step-by-step progress, okay, and then you get more faith, and then you proceed. And this is how we do in the science also, right? Because science gives us some answer, and then we trust it, and then we get further answers and things like that. Spirituality is also like this. Forget about this fantastic truth that you heard so far, right? But point to note is that, oh, you'll be able to actually experience. I mean, spirituality says that there is an answer to your miseries. There is a way you can be happy in this world. You can experience it reality in real right now. Okay, your all these anxiety, all these fears, all this anger, everything will go away. Or you'll be able to see that step by step as you progress, right? And that's how we progress. We get faith and we move forward. And this is practical, real, is what I'm saying. Like, whether spiritual world exists, can I see it? There are people who have seen it right here. There are acharyas who have seen it, who actually have documented it, who have talked about it. The problem is that, okay, will you trust those? Yeah, if you don't trust them, doesn't make any sense, right? But there are people who have seen it, right? That's the point.
We will trust them. We will trust them.
Yeah, then
But
I can
then
tell you the name.
it's just that.
Yeah. Yes, go
But
ahead.
I just want to know. I'm not saying I don't trust. But what I was trying to ask is कि उन्होंने फिर वो एक्सपीरियंस किया कैसे?
यहाँ
अगर
बैठ
मतलब
के
क्योंकि हम ओके सो हमको ऐसा लगता था एज यू नो बिकॉज हम लोग को कोई लाइक मुझे तो कोई भी नॉलेज नहीं है. आई एम जस्ट अ वेरी ले मैन पर्सन इन दिस थिंग. सो मुझे ऐसा लगता था कि मे बी देयर आर दीज गुरुज, मिस्टिक गुरुज, और ये जो स्पिरिचुअल गुरुज हैं वो अपनी बॉडी को छोड़ के जाते होंगे, वहां पे देख के आते
नहीं,
होंगे और वो एक्सपीरियंस, तो मुझे ऐसा लगता था।
ओके,
पर
तो
अभी
कैसे
आपकी
होता
बातें
है,
सुन के
सी, there is a there is a there is a famous so Brahmaji, when I don't know if you know this story, ki Brahmaji, when at one point was bewildered by Krishna in when Krishna was a small baby, and then Brahmaji actually stole the cows and you know and even the gopas and all, and he hid them in some place. I don't know if you've seen the Little Krishna, no, not little, whatever, that movie, or you have ever heard about this story, right? So at that time, Brahmaji realized that Krishna is God. Okay, and then at that time, Brahmaji did a prayer, and that prayers are called Brahma Samhita. Okay, and in Brahma Samhita there is a verse which comes and which says Premanjana Churit Bhakti Vilochnena, mean like Santa Sadev Hrideshu Vilokyanti. It says that the these sages, they're able to see that place always in their heart. Okay, and how come? Because it says Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochnena. I mean, like that to see this, you cannot see it through these eyes. To see them, you need the eyes of love. Okay, eyes which are like like you put that kajal. Similarly, if you should be able to put that thing of love, and then you can see them all the time. Okay, so it is not a direct perception the way we think it is, but if people have actually seen them directly also. It is in this world also. There are many mystical things. If I actually start talking about all of them right now, you will be overwhelmed. Okay, but I can tell you one thing. It is step by step we experience things and we move forward. Spirituality is like this. So if I tell this to a child of 3-4 years, right? I gave that example. Like what is 1 minus 2? Then he will be bewildered, right? So we will say that 1 minus 2 doesn't exist. Don't worry, right? Just focus on 2 minus 1, and that's all, right? So that is what it is. I mean, I cannot tell you everything in this one sitting. Otherwise, it will become an absurd thing that like we talk to somebody in the train and they tell us something, right? You have to take spirituality like, okay, we are in grade 1 and then we go to grade 2 and then grade 3 and things like that. And it is a multi-year thing. It is not like one day thing, right? And we practice it and we experience it. Our life becomes better. This life where we are living, it becomes better, and then we practice more. We get more faith, and then we move forward. Okay, and it is fun. I mean, it is not about like going to sadhu, becoming a sadhu and going to Himalayas and things like that. It is about having fun in life, right? I mean, spirituality is a lot of fun. In fact, I can tell you, it is more fun than what you can have in your material life. Okay.
तो मतलब आप अभी नहीं बता सकते, पर आप आगे हमको बताएंगे कि हम कैसे एक्सपीरियंस कर सकते हैं. In short, you want to say that, right?
Yeah, as I said, you can right now you can experience it through scriptures, and that is the only way right
Okay.
now for you to experience. Does it make
Okay.
sense? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
No, but as you move further, you'll be able to experience it more. But those are advanced stages.
स्पिरिचुअलिज्म में कुछ भी पास्ट लाइफ रिग्रेशन थेरेपी का कुछ रिलेशन है क्या? I mean,
देखिए, there
okay,
are
I just wanted to know.
many branches of this whole thing. The Vedic knowledge is very vast. Okay, and we will not talk about all possible things because it is not possible to talk about all possible things. We will focus on only few things at a time, right? And those few things are
Okay,
the most
तो मुझे
important.
सिर्फ
हाँ, बोलिए.
ओके, मुझे सिर्फ इतना जानना है कि पास्ट लाइफ रिग्रेशन थेरेपी ऑथेंटिक है या नहीं है. लाइक आई मीन, होता है, वो सच होता है या वो बस इमेजिनेशन है लोगों का?
All of this depends on whom are you talking to, right? I mean, is that person bogus? See, these authentic sampradayas, they don't bother about all of this crap. Okay, they don't care. They only talk about the truth, because see, as a soul, we have been struggling. The biggest problem for us should be to get out of this world. That's what it is, because this is a place of misery. This place is a miserable place. We are not happy here. Nobody in this world can claim that I am happy, right? If you are not happy, then talking about all of this past life, this, that is it doesn't matter. I mean, you already had millions of life, and you're going to have millions more life. Why worry about the past one, right? Let's think in a big picture. We should think about, like, can I get out of it? Can I actually reach a stage where I can be always happy, right? Even now, I mean, and later, right after my death, like that should be the focus for us. That should be the point of concern for us. Why worry about all these small things? Right. Okay. Good. Anything else? I hope it was useful. I don't know if it was. Right.
Yeah, so when I asked a few names, it was not to question the existence,
Yeah.
but to know a few names so that we can actually follow their lives, or to know more about
Yeah.
those people. So
Yeah,
what?
I can see. I can tell you that this is not about direct perception. Okay, there is okay. I'll tell you one thing. There are scriptures talk about devotees like bhakt, and we'll talk about bhakti yoga. There are different type of paths possible. The sampradayas that I'm talking about, they all focus on bhakti yoga, which actually, as per scriptures, is the highest way, the best way, the only way you can go out of this world. I can even claim that much. If you really want to go to spiritual world, this is the only way, and that's why I said that. So for a devotee who's advanced enough, actually getting to see God is not a big thing. There are like many such names who are actually able to get to see them. A devotee in an advanced stage is always able to be with God all the time. Okay. And there are so many names. I mean, the point is that we cannot imitate them. The problem is we cannot imitate them because they are at such an advanced stage that imitating them will actually lead us into troubles. For example, you talk about Mirabai. Oh, she was always with Krishna. I mean, like, she was ready to do whatever. But can we imitate her? No, we cannot, right? So, because she was at a very, very advanced stage. So then we start, as I said, the most sure short way of progressing in this area is to actually follow the right sampradaya under a right guidance. You just follow step by step. As a baby step, you keep taking and you learn and you take baby steps. Okay. And that's how you progress. And that is the right way to progress. And that is called Vedic Bhakti. That is called Sadhana Bhakti, where you just do small. You are just practicing and you are progressing. Okay. In this world, being here, you are able to progress in a methodical way and not following any absurd thing here and there, hearing things, but rather following it scripturally. And that is the right way of progressing. And then you will be able to achieve all those great stages, maybe not in this life, maybe next life. But anyways, we have been spending thousands of life. It doesn't matter, but you will be able to go out for sure. That is guaranteed. I mean, it is all scriptural. Right. So following those great people is a problematic situation. They were at a very, very advanced stage. Like in Vrindavan, there was a Goswami called Rupa Goswami. He used to see pastimes of Radha Krishna every day. Like, he used to be part of those pastimes every night, every day. Okay. Play with them and all sort of things, making jokes and everything. Right. But can we follow them? We can't follow him. Oh, he was a person who didn't used to sleep in a tree for more than a night. Okay. Because he was like, yeah, if I sleep in a tree for more than a night, then I'll get attached to this tree. Okay. He used to only wear copine and things like that, like small cloth in his body, right? Eat, you cannot imagine how they used to eat and things like that, right? So I'm not talking about following them. All I'm saying is that we have to be original, and it is possible for all of us to make progress if it is done methodically. Like in a school, every person gets to cross the 10th standard and 12th standard, and that's the right way of doing it, right? In a methodical way. And that's what these sampradayas teach, how to do that for everyone. And their only purpose to exist is to actually teach these things. I don't know if I'm making sense. Or is it too much for people to digest in a session?
No, yeah, certainly. I mean, probably this life is not enough, but it may take multiple lives.
It may or it may not. I mean, you
Some
can actually
stage.
go out in one life also. If practiced properly, it is possible to go out in one life also.
Is it?
Yes, it is. It's all methodical, systematic, well thought of, and achieved by people in a methodical way, like reliably achieved by people.
So you are saying from where to start is basically you start reading Bhagavad Gita. Is that what you are saying?
That we will talk about where to start. I mean, like, hold on. So
Okay.
far we have answered few questions. We have answered we are a soul, there is a God, what is the way to see the God? These are the three questions only we answered, right? We will go to what to practice, how to practice in the subsequent sessions, right? Last time you asked how can I remember God? Yes, this is the way to remember God, right? That by scriptures we can get to know more about him. But then we'll talk about further thing, that the next question that you are asking. Wait for 2 more sessions and we will talk about that also, right? Yeah, if it answers, right? I hope it was helpful. It's already 7:30, so maybe we are done. hopefully. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you, Narendra ji. It was very
Thank
enriching.
you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, please keep joining the